Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 312 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney. For my friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is up, boys? As Wayne Campbell said, game on. The players and owners, they have signed off on the 2021 season. We are a go. We also got the World Juniors starting up this week. We'll get to all those details shortly. Let's say hi to the boys first. Mikey Grinelli, what's up, buddy? You all set for Christmas or what?
Happy holidays, boys. I am all set for Christmas. Just hanging here in New York, playing some video games. What have you guys been up to?
Biz, why don't you chime in there?
Well, I didn't know if I should step in there because he kind of asked us how we were doing in the midst of the intro, but I didn't want to cock block you on teeing me up. But I'm doing great. One of those podcasts where you hop on, you've done a little bit of studying as to everything you need to know, and then the minute it starts, you're like, what did I even read? So really looking forward to this one, boys. And just dropped that McDonald's ad, the sustainable beef one, another one we did and figured out when we were high. And shout out to Jeff and Pasha who helped me on that one. And speaking of Jeff, his Smokey Robinson thing ended up getting all the way to SNL. They ended up doing an SNL skit about it. So he's been all over the place.
Did they really?
Yeah, that cameo request turned into an SNL skit. So
crazy.
How about that?
Thinking of you studying, like I just picture two like pit bulls like barking at each other, trying to get like it's just like there's zero calmness, zero being remembered. You studying for a podcast cracks me up.
I'm like, where do I store it?
Hi
where
guys,
do I fucking store it?
The wit dog.
What's going on? What's going on? It's great to be here. Lot of stuff's been happening in my life. I'm an enormous soccer fan now. We'll get into that later. I'm a Chelsea team. Chelsea team is my team, I should say. We'll go into that later. Hockey's back, like you said already. That fires me up. We have some serious issues within the divisions because some are very easy, some are very hard. Some teams got lucky. Some teams may have been fucked. What else? Grinelli, you mentioned Christmas. Yeah, Christmas is going to be awesome. Low key this year. Everyone knows you can't really be hanging around with other people. You got to keep things, small, quiet. So we're going to be doing that, and we'll just be hanging. And all of a sudden, Christmas movies, I'm enjoying them again. My son's into them. I'm watching Charlie Brown Christmas 500 times. Maybe the 301st time it started getting a little annoying, but I'm still all in till we watch it. Maybe 750. I got to tell him the 26th, hey, bud, Christmas is over. No more Charlie Brown. But I'm great. And like I said, I meant to say, it's nice being once a week right now. I am fired up every time we record.
I want to ask the movie guy, what's the most underrated Christmas movie of all time, RA?
Underrated. I feel like every Christmas movie is probably even overrated at this point. Is Bad Santa? I mean, Bad Santa is not underrated, is it? It's my favorite movie. I think because it's so profane, it might get overlooked a little bit, but I say Bad Santa. I don't think that gets brought up enough in Christmas movie discussions.
Who's the guy? Billy Bob?
Billy Bob Thornton. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
And the black midget.
Oh, Tony Cox. Yeah,
he is hilarious.
Now it's coming back.
They were just such absolute fucking scumbags, but they just kept running into bigger scumbags than them. So yeah, I put Bad Santa.
Good answer, RA. Good answer.
Wait, it's funny you mentioned Christmas movies. Well, when we last recorded last Monday, I had to take off because I told you guys I had a party. I had to go revisit an old friend, the Stanley Cup. I was fortunate to get invited to the Cup party. Coincidentally, with assistant coach Derek Lalonde, it was at an Irish bar in Tampa, which ironically was closing. They actually kept it open for a couple extra nights, so the last night would be with the Stanley Cup. And I was honored enough to be invited to it. It was actually pretty cool. It's this old Irish bar, no TVs in there. The owner gave a big speech to say how special it was to close the place with the Stanley Cup there. Hang out with my pal Derek, I haven't seen in 22 years. And Biz, as you know, I got introduced to Coop. Head coach John Cooper, and I know we say this for a lot. The guy's an absolute beauty. He didn't give me
He's awesome
handshake and walk away. We sat there and we talked for an hour and 20 minutes. He FaceTime Biz, but we were talking about Christmas movies with, and he said, "Oh, me and my kids, the other night we sat down, we watched National Lampoon Vacation and then Christmas Vacation, and like those are the best family movies. I mean, when you get little ones now, like even Vacation, the first one, there's some parts, they're kind of the 80s, but you can still sit there and watch it with your family. Any family's taking a road trip, like." There's always some nostalgia there. So hanging out with Coop, man, was awesome. He's such a great guy, man. It was great, obviously, to see the Cup again with social distancing and COVID. You couldn't be as free and footloose with it, say, the last time I partied with it. But it's always an honor.
No lines out of the Cup.
Guy.
Just keep on social media.
Yeah.
He wasn't allowed to put any hallucinogens in the bowl this year. What do you know? Tough COVID hit, man. It sucks.
So,
Hey, did you get a FaceTime from Coop Witt?
I did not. Coop.
Oh shit. Okay.
he had your number too, Biz.
Yeah, because Biz has probably Biz is probably that's Biz studying. He calls Coop to ask what breakout the Lightning are using, and he still forgets.
So yeah, it was a good night, and if you think John Cooper's a good guy from watching him, he really is, man. We shot the shit for a while, had a great time shooting the breeze with him. But we should mention our guests too, because I did say the World Juniors starting up Christmas Day. We have James Duthie from TSN. He's an expert in that field. Also a great interview. We're going to bring him on a little later. And we got Team Canada captain and Chicago Blackhawk Kirby Dach. His second appearance, kid's not even 20 years old yet, already making a second appearance on Chiclets. We got him from the bubble. Tell us what he's thinking going into the juniors. So we got some good shit coming. But first, boys, the 2021 season is a go. NHLPA and the NHL reached an agreement over the weekend. Board of Governors approved it Sunday. We're going to have a 56-game season. Puck drop January 13th. Regular season's going to end May 8th. The last possible cup day, July 15th. Trade deadline, April 12th. Whole bunch of dates thrown out there. It's going to be 4 divisions, realigned this year. Each division is going to have 4 teams in the playoffs. So this is like the 1980s all over again. You're going to have to fight your way out of division. But what's crazy, what we're saying, each team, 3 of the divisions have to play their opponents fucking 8 times. You're not playing outside your division, then you're playing the playoffs. I mean, these guys are going to hate each other so fucking much, Biz, by halfway through the season.
It's like put them in the Coliseum, and I love every aspect of it. I think it's like you said, it's a man's game at this point. Get your way out of your division, and then you could fight for the cup. I like it for 1 year. I could understand some people's complaints, but the only question I had around the division alignment, and that may have already been answered due to like a COVID situation, but why did Dallas not make it to the Central?
They didn't really give an explanation because a lot of people figure either Minnesota or St. Louis, because geographically those cities are actually further east than Dallas, but they didn't really give an explanation on that. I don't know if that's where like owner sway comes in and like,
Oh, excuse me.
We haven't heard publicly.
I meant why isn't Dallas in the West as opposed to St. Louis? Because I messed that up. So right now Dallas is in the Western Division. Wouldn't it make more sense for St. Louis?
No, Dallas is in the Central. It's the
okay. So I was right. I had it written down.
Studying worked.
That's what I see. I had it right originally. Then I looked at my notes and I got it the other way. I'm fucking serious.
The letters are backwards too.
I wrote. This is what I wrote. Divisions. Have they said why Dallas isn't in the West instead of St. Louis?
Imagine this guy writing this. Imagine watching this guy down. Like scratching his head with his one hand and writing.
I'm like a fucking caveman. Jesus Christ. I'm not. There I go. I threw my notes away.
Okay.
They're gone.
I am curious. Have we heard what owners publicly didn't like the original division lineups, or is that all kind of you just hear somebody's complaining, but you don't know who?
It's basically that. Yeah, you kind of no one goes on the record. You kind of hear scuttlebutt. So and so's pissed off. And Biz, I think the reason would be Dallas is also considered a southern city, even though it's further west. So I think by lumping them in with Tampa, Nashville, Florida. Even Carolina, it's almost more of a southeast or South conference. Yeah. So I think that's probably the justification for it.
So one of the justifications I said was to create better rivalries, but then I was like, man, like St. Louis and Chicago and St. Louis and Nashville, they got that rivalry going. But what you're saying is maybe just think forward thinking as far as like bring back the rivalry of the Stanley Cup Finals because they're going to be playing, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think they're just kind of going with geography here, and someone has to get fucked basically out of that. Dallas, Minnesota, St. Louis, they're all right in the middle of the country. Someone was going to get screwed as far as traveling, or 2 teams in this case.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would say again, Dallas is a southern city as well as a western city. So that's probably how they figured that out. But either way,
I think that Biz, do you remember what it was? Was it 12 times you'd play a team in your division in the AHL? In Wilkes-Barre's division, wasn't it 6-6 with Bridgeport and stuff?
Yeah, there'd be some weekends you would legit just play one team 3 times.
Yeah, so and then the one year we played Bridgeport in the playoffs. I think we played Bridgeport 17 times, and at some point it's you hate a team so much, but you just figure each other out. They always seem to be close games. I think gambling is going to be impossible this year, at least at the beginning, because the divisions when you know a team's game and you're only focused on 7, 8 other teams, 10, whatever. It just changes your season's mentality because you're really playing team by team as opposed to preparing for 30, 31 teams. So I think that really will be interesting to watch. But what's going to be crazy is you get the 4 semifinalists. Each division sends one team, and then you're battling out for the Stanley Cup 2 more rounds. You're not going to have a clue. You're going to think one team looks great coming into that, and then a team that comes out of a division that doesn't look as strong. It's just so different. You won't have known anything about one another. It's going to make the playoffs so exciting. I actually love what they did this year. It's a crazy year. You could have gone even crazier, but this is different. This is going to have a different feel, and it's a sprint to the finish. I'm ready to go. Have we told everyone we'll be together when the season begins?
No, not yet. We haven't announced it.
No.
All right, so
But go ahead.
We'll be in Scottsdale. Right? Biz is home. Biz is city.
Ow.
Yeah, he's just howling like a coyote. So he'll probably have some content pieces for us to do, some sandbaggers, and we'll be able to live stream the opening night of the NHL, opening couple nights. I'm ready.
Get the gambling going. We'll get a little bit of gambling going too.
Can't wait. I can't wait for those odds to come out. We haven't even mentioned the North Division either. It's all 7 Canadian teams. These guys are going to be playing each other between 9 or 10 times a year. I mean, picture that, 9 or 10 Battle of Albertas just in the regular season. Then they could meet in the playoffs. I mean, that's fucking obscene.
I think from a viewership standpoint, everything's going to work out, and they're going to be able to retain at least more of the revenue that they thought they would. And with that, we could probably segue it into the helmet ads.
Yes, absolutely. Let me scroll down.
Are we realistically like in the hunt to get helmet ads?
I try to ask.
Or are those like Coyotes. Budweiser, like Chevrolet, or those big dogs?
Roman swipes.
Yeah, from David Pagnotta, he said we will see ads on helmets this season, subject to category restrictions. And Sports Business Daily did have an article the other day. They said both sides of the helmet and only one brand allowed at a time on the helmet. They're basically calling it a make good for sponsors, but it's also a bit of a trial balloon because if it works, they'll probably continue it going forward. They said teams are likely to have one option for the road and one option for a road brand and a home brand. They won't be able to swap sponsors during the season, so they'll need to commit to it for the year. And yeah, they'll go to the bigger names out there. And hey, New Amsterdam Vodka, they're partners with the NHL too. So let's not rule anything out at this stage, right?
We'll sponsor the post game.
that's what we'll sponsor. The lack thereof this year. It'll just be our post game in a room on a Zoom.
Yeah.
Hey. What I wanted to mention about the North is like Toronto's a team to me. I actually picked them to win the division. I tweeted back at Chiclets, who, put all the divisions on a tweet. I said the winners were going to be Toronto, Tampa Bay, Colorado, Philly. Those are my division winners. So a couple guys, I saw one guy wrote, well, there goes their seasons, poor fuckers. Just proving that or showing that I have been a mush. But Toronto is a team who went from, let's say, the third best team in the Northeast, Tampa Bay and Boston, I could say, they're better than them, I would say, to probably the best team in Canada. And that just that can change their entire year, not having to get out of a division that everyone always talked about would be so difficult for them. So there's just so many teams who can be happy and pissed off. Columbus gets out of the Metro. Columbus is that division was so difficult to begin with the Metro. Look at it now. Pittsburgh's, you could say Pittsburgh's in danger of maybe not making the playoffs for the first time in 15 years? I don't know exactly.
I think they have not missed playoffs since Sidney Crosby's.
We missed our rookie year. Yeah, we were rookies together.
That was the only time he's ever missed playoffs.
Yeah. So their streaks, could be in danger. You'll see what goes on there. I just, like I said before, I'm repeating myself. I'm ready.
Couple other
I didn't even study Biz. Yeah. Look.
I know. I can't even fuck. And then I tried to book Dallas in with Tampa and like the South on the East side. I've just been a mess with the locations right now. Help me out, RA.
Well, that map I had in the blog today, some kid in Canada, it was very rudimentary, but he drew colors around each zone. It's actually really good. Because the Northeast, the East is if the furthest Bruins have to go, I think is Pittsburgh. There's 8 teams all clustered in the Northeast card, and then everything else is so spread out. It's actually a pretty cool map.
I took my psychedelics and looked at that. That's probably why I figured that Dallas was in Florida. I'm like, oh yeah, to get the fucking cup matchup, and you guys are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
It's like, what's that? What country is that dancing bear from right there on my map? A few other notes too. There'll be a 23-man roster, $81.5 million salary cap. There's going to be no proration of salaries, no exhibition games. Non-playoff teams will get a few extra days of camp. We just did mention Whit did that. We're going to be in Scottsdale, and also the San Jose Sharks are going to be in Scottsdale as well. Yep. Due to county laws, they're forbidden to have any contact sports. That's the same reason the 49ers just had to finish their season in Arizona. Well, San Jose is going to start their season there, so maybe we'll snag a few Sharks who are in town as well, Biz.
So that means in that area of the country that no kids playing hockey or football?
I'm not sure what it is at the youth level.
It has to be. If the pros can't, the kid. That's so brutal. That's so brutal.
Yeah. Canada. So my parents are in Ontario, and I believe as of 12 o'clock on the 23rd, you have to stay in your house. It's basically full lockdown. I think you can go to the grocery store. I think you can go do curbside pickup for restaurants.
Toronto's doing that, or all of Ontario?
I think it's all of Ontario. It's like a fairly serious lockdown. And I think that right now they have the days set at 28 days. And guys, like I'm in Scottsdale, and I think things are moving fairly regularly here. So all of our Canadian listeners, I know this is a really tough situation you guys are in. Like I think at one point, depending on how bad it gets in other provinces, they might have to shut down there too. But if you're cooped up in your place and you're going a little crazy, like this is a tough time of year to be alone. So hopefully you guys got friends you can reach out to and talk to and get yourselves through this difficult time, because it's pretty intense, man, when it's cold and dark out and they're confined to their houses with. And I'm sure you can chime in on this.
Are there a lot of cases in Ontario?
I mean, Canada kind of beats to a different drum than I would say the United States. They're just a lot more cautious. So, I mean, I would say that cases have spiked to a certain degree that they're just trying to nip it in the butt. And I'm sure the hospitals are getting overflooded, and it's just a horrible situation all around, guys. So good luck getting through it up north. We love you. And we know we got a lot of Canadian listeners. So have a great holiday, because I don't think we'll be chiming in until afterward.
Yeah, but we got lots to get to first. I mean,
Absolutely.
speaking of, we just mentioned San Jose. They can't play in their own county. Well, conversely, the Florida Panthers intend to have fans in a limited capacity to start their season. And as a guy who's been in Florida for the last 2.5 weeks, I am not the least bit surprised. I was up in Massachusetts. We had to go Provincetown a couple months ago to finally check it out. And the difference between there and here, just as far as like mask usage and making sure people wear them, it's absolutely night and day. It's almost like a different country in some ways. So the idea that the Panthers are going to have a crowd to start the season isn't the least bit surprising at all.
I was just surprised the league would allow it, just given they don't want to because you were going to bring it up later in the episode, but I guess I'll bring it up now. You said, Team Germany, they were overseas. They got tested. Nobody tested positive. And then they came over here. All of a sudden, eight of the players for Team Germany, the World Juniors, test positive. So it's like, if that were to happen because they're allowing fans in the building, listen, I don't care whether they do or not, but I wouldn't want that to be the reason that games had to be shut down. This whole wheel that they've been doing a good job so far, and the NHL should be commended on it as far as keeping it safe inside the bubbles, so to speak. Yeah, and just to throw in as well, Mayor Marty Walsh here in Boston, he toured TD Garden the other day, and he said it's possible that the Bruins could have fans in there as early as February and March. Nice. Yeah, so this, I know we have fun with Florida a lot of times, but this could be other cities as well, and the NHL's been seeming to defer to local authorities on such matters. So obviously, we'll keep you posted. And we mentioned the holidays, Biz. The holidays are upon us, and we know a lot of people are going to be enjoying a few drinks. So you want to make sure your body is ready to bounce back the next morning with DHM Detox. DHM Detox is the ultimate vitamin for people who like to have a few drinks. It's the smart, responsible way to celebrate. Be prepared for a New Year's Eve and start 2021 off feeling awesome. DHM Detox is a blend of natural ingredients, antioxidants, and vitamins that are designed to fight off the toxins while you're drinking. Say goodbye to rough next mornings and get back to feeling good the next day. No days wasted is here to help you maximize all of life's moments. Biz, you can attest to this stuff. Awesome. I'll be cranking it this holiday because I'm going to get into the wine. I'm going to get into the beer. If you think I'm not having a few Pink Whitneys when I'm watching the Sandbagger, and I'll be dummying DHM Detox beforehand. No days wasted.
Absolutely. You take a couple after your first few drinks and it goes to work. Double up if you're going to be having a few extra pops. DHM Detox is part of our drinking routine, as well as tens of thousands of other people make it part of yours. The packets are easy to share with friends and family this holiday season. They make great Christmas gifts and stocking stuffers. They just launched their holiday bundles with the new Hydration Replenisher, an electrolyte drink mix that helps you hydrate and helps boost your immune system with vitamin C, D, and zinc. DHM Detox is a 100% risk-free purchase on your first box. So if you don't like it, they'll refund you. It's a no-brainer. So at the very least, give it a shot. And if you don't like it, get your money back. We're going to hit you guys with a promo code. Just head over to nodayswasted.co. Use the promo code BIZ20 for 20% off.
There you go.
Once again, that's nodayswasted.co for no days wasted after drinking with BIZ20. I don't think I ever did that.
We gotta say what happened. RA put his hand down and he knocked his mic out, so he couldn't say anything. That was funny. Hey, the guy who owns the company No Days Wasted, DHM Detox, he just went on that Dragon's Den, which is the Shark Tank of Canada. He did pretty good. He had one of the judges being a complete dickhead to him.
Did anyone invest?
Yeah, the one lady
Really?
did. Yeah, she invested. So they're working out a deal and what she can do for the company behind the scenes. Yeah,
Congrats.
so it was. This one guy was absolutely grilling him. So it was pretty funny.
He's
to
like
watch.
Mr. Wonderful of the States. You ever watch Shark Tank?
Well, Mr. Wonderful is Kevin O'Leary, isn't it?
Yeah, he grills people.
I think
he's kind of a prick, I think, on there.
Yeah, I think he's from Canada actually. So he's on.
Is he?
He's on both of them. He was so good on
He's good.
Yeah, the Dragon's Den, and the Dragon's Den version, I believe, was created by Brad Treliving's father, who's GM of the Calgary Flames. Jim Treliving, I think he's like a fucking billionaire, dude. He's created Boston Pizza. He's created all these crazy things. And I think it was originally his concept. And because it was so successful with Kevin O'Leary, who I'm sure they met and crossed paths, and Jim Treliving's like, this guy is an absolute character. I've heard stories of this guy going all night and then doing one of those calls in the morning, like no underwear on, just a shirt and tie for the Zoom call on like
Mr.
CBC.
Wonderful's like that?
Oh yeah, I heard he cranks it. So hopefully I'm not spreading any rumors here, but if I am, who gives a shit? Johnny Gaudreau to the Flyers.
That rumor started the second after you get drafted, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, we got another big drop coming this week, Grinelli, right? A new sandbagger. Is this? I'm hearing whispers. This is the all-time best sandbagger ever. Is that true?
Yeah, I'll let Whit and Biz talk about it. I think it's the best sandbagger ever. We worked pretty long and hard on it. It's Jans and Hazy.
I'll say this: we help with the editing process. So shout out to Chase and Pasha, who were able to get it to a point where we kind of just chime in a little bit. But the first time around, like the first 15 minutes, I didn't stop laughing because Jans and Hayes are an absolute. They're a comedy show.
Keith's line on the first tee, muttered under his breath, involving a lighthouse, is all I'll say. It's like you're gonna see the humor that we see, away from the interviews with Keith. You'll see it when we do it with Chiclets and him getting involved, but he's even better when it's like, no cameras on, although there was cameras on. But in that setting, it's so different. You know what I mean, Biz? Yeah. You just feel like you're with your buddy. Him and Hazy are clowns, and I think that everyone's going to enjoy it. I'll be on the live chat 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel.
That drops on Tuesday. So this comes out Tuesday morning. I don't know how many people listening to the pod in the morning.
Biz. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday right now.
Right, but not every listener gets to listen the first day is what I'm saying. So all the ones who is head there for 8 p.m. to our YouTube channel for a live viewing. That means we drop it on the spot, and then Whit's going to be in the chat. It's probably like the coolest thing. Last time we had 6,000 people watch the launch. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of electricity in the chat.
Let's get 10. Let's get 10.
Get to 10,000 with Hazy.
What is that?
and
What is that? Concurrent or something?
Concurrent viewers, 10,000 at once.
So 10,000 once. And there's like golf videos from golf podcasts getting released. We're crushing them. We're a hockey podcast. It's unbelievable. And the other thing is too, before the show will start, for 2 minutes, they play the best song I've ever heard. It's the chillest beat, like the final, what is it, 2 minutes, minute and a half?
Yeah, 2 minutes before it starts.
I want us to play that song and that video for 30
Is it on
minutes.
The Big Booty Mix?
We're going to
hear about the Big Booty
Number
Mix
18.
coming up here with Kirby Dach, who
they like them thick with 3 C's.
They got the booty coaches with the band. They're doing the Sidney Crosby leg ass workouts. Anyway, we'll get into that later with Kirby Dach. But this CCM Sandbagger, which is brought to you by Cross Country Mortgage. Guys, let's get 10,000 concurrent. We'll see you there. Let's have some fun. Bring a glass of Pink Whitney and get ready to fucking laugh from Hazy and Yans.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. Whit, I know another thing you want to talk about regarding the new season was this taxi man squad. They're going to have a 4 to 6 man taxi squad. Teams can carry up to 29 players max. They'll travel and practice with the team. They'll get paid a full AHL salary. The CBA has been expanded to include for more recalls, but it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think it was Frank Saravelli, Biz, that brought up the point. Toronto can just only keep 21 guys on the roster, and that's one way to kind of, I don't know, not subvert the salary cap. That sounds kind of bad, but hey, play by the rules. And if you can have guys, kind of in weight and not on your cap, then take advantage of it, right?
T.O.'s like, hey, we're carrying the league here. We're helping you guys out. I don't know if you guys saw the last valuation, okay? We're kind of at the top tier, so make sure we could slide under this cap number. Or it could be the analytics genius, who is Kyle Dubas, and he could be just doing his thing, and he knew it was coming, and he saw that. What's it called? Foresight? He had the foresight.
Foreskin sight?
Foreskin. He had the foreskin, yeah, the foresy. I don't know if it was a foresy.
So the taxi squad's interesting because I talked to an agent who mentions the in-between guys where, you have a 2-way contract and you're making probably decent money in the AHL, but as you know, the guys I'm talking about, they're going to probably get put on this taxi squad and realistically get paid their AHL salary to get bag skated for the whole season. They'll get in here and there, but they'd be playing in the minors if this taxi squad wasn't available, some of them at least. So are guys like that, it's kind of a tough, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's opt-out, opt-in, the way the NFL did it. I actually don't know if all that stuff's been settled. I don't know if that's even been announced, but there is certain, I don't want to say things that would make you wary if you're one of these guys, but more, I'm not going to get a chance to play well down there, possibly get picked up on waivers, come up, make my NHL money, because they can bring you up for a game, pay you 1 day prorated NHL salary, back to the taxi squad. Yep. You know what I mean? It's just, it kind of sucks for a certain small group of players in that league with taxi squad issues, I think.
All right. You brought up the point though, that'll be this case until the AHL season may start in February.
Well, that's what I wrote in the text, but I read up on it a little bit further. That's not so clear. I think these guys are the guys they have to have. Now, if they go through them, I think they'd have to have some sort of clearance. I mean, if you guys get hurt, you're going to have to go somewhere to get them. So I don't.
So are you saying that they would have to stay in their own kind of little bubble and just practice, and then if they're kind of in this purgatory place, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's
with the team. But
yep.
I thought at one point they'd be able to shift over to the American Hockey League and at least stay moving. But
I don't think so.
So overall, what you're saying, it's not even the money standpoint as far as the shipping back and forth. It's the fact that these guys who could be left in purgatory, and I'm sure that there will be a number of players where it's like a year lost.
Well,
it's all you're doing is skating. You're losing.
It's your career, and it's a big year. No matter how old you are, and all of a sudden it's a waste.
I'm going to be honest. As soon as I turned into that fourth line player where I was in and out of the lineup and I could go 4 or 5.
When was that? 87?
Shut the fuck up. Let me get my thought out. Okay. I'm struggling as it is. This pod is, you just completely lose your feel for the game because you haven't really played it. I hadn't played it since the coast. So eventually, for these guys, like a year burnt, and then all these other guys who are playing, and even if they're playing in junior, at least they're advancing and staying in that rhythm. So that's a little bit of a difficult situation. And that may be looking at the full and detrimental aspect of it. But there's some people who are going to get no spit, no lube, sandpaper finish up the hoop.
Yeah, because you wonder if a team's going to say, well, this guy, we want him to develop in the AHL. He's not ready for the NHL. And they might take a guy further down in the AHL roster who's not even going to sniff the big club, but they just need to have a taxi squad. It's going to be very interesting to see how GMs handle it because it's all new territory for everybody.
The taxi squad. We should get a taxi squad player of the week award. I'd be
here's the problem.
I know I'd be a taxi squad player. That's
if your taxi squad in the playoffs, like Black Aces, or even if they had it in a normal year, you're ripping it up on the road. You can't even leave your hotel room. Taxi squad this year is a shit show. So I don't.
If a taxi company doesn't jump on some sort of sponsorship about
Do they
that,
exist still, taxis? Remember guys were paying like $600,000 for medallions in NYC and just Uber came along and buried all of them.
Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah, that'd be like selling, or I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, well, it's like getting a liquor license, probably wit, and then all of a sudden, anyone and their mother could get a liquor license, seemingly.
It's like spending $2 million on a home, and a month later, like a gun range going in right next door.
Okay. I mean, that's a pretty good example off the top of your head.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So yeah, these guys are basically going to be black aces for the year, but they will have to get in some games because, like you said, guys get hurt, man. Sometimes teams get fucking bundled with injuries, so it's going to be interesting.
Would you guys say that fights are up 100% given the fact that how much these guys are playing?
I think they have to be. I think they have to be.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Guys are going to get sick of each
There's
other.
a positive.
It's going to be like the playoffs during the season because guys are going to fucking hate each other so much. Think of it. His season, just one fucking team after the other, the same fucking 7 teams.
You know what we should do a prop bet on? Who gets first sussy of the season? It's got to be
Wilson's minus 600. Right? I mean, well, who would be the favorite?
Revo. I put Revo could be the chalk.
Revo gets sussied. Actually,
Chuck.
who are we forgetting? What are you saying? Matthew Chuck.
I was going to say I was going to say Cassian's got to be up there.
Cassian's screws are probably loose right now, just getting ready to just kill someone in the All-Canadian division.
He's been bumping cameos too. There's quite a few guys who have hopped on the train. Yeah, he's going.
I've thought about cameo biz. You've done some funny ones, but I don't know. I just I'm not in yet. I think it's a great idea. I'm just not in yet. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah. It's going to be hard for me to think of what to say. You're good at that, biz.
Well, they have to tell you a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big Walt's going to have his 2 kids going head to head 9 to 10 times a year now. That's Matthew and Brady. They're going to fucking. I'm curious to see if they just skate each other's lane.
Jesus. He's like, this is the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be good for the fans. One other note on this too: teams have to carry at least 3 goaltenders between their roster and the taxi squad. However, they do it roster wise, it don't matter, but they need to have at least 3 on call. So, all right, boys, we also mentioned the World Junior Games are starting this Friday, Christmas Day. The gold medal game will be on January 5th at 6:30. There were a handful of exhibitions that had to be canceled due to the COVID stuff. Biz mentioned what happened with the German squad. They did nothing wrong, but they come over and guys tested positive either way. So it looks like we should be off and running Christmas Day. The Canadians are a sizable favorite here. No shock, defending champs. But we were fortunate to get Kirby Dach, Team Canada's captain, to come off a little bit. But first, I want to let you know this interview is brought to you by Cross Country Mortgage, America's crazy good mortgage company who make it easier to get the financing you need fast. Go to ccmlens.com/NBD to learn more about your future home buying or refinancing experience. NMLS 3029, Equal Housing Opportunity. And now, enjoy Kirby Dach. Well, we're happy to welcome this young guy back for his second appearance already. He's not even 20 years old yet. He just finished his rookie year with the Chicago Blackhawks and got his first taste of the NHL playoffs. And next week, he'll captain Team Canada at the World Junior Championship in Edmonton. Thanks so much for joining us again on the Spittin Chiclets podcast. Kirby Dach, how are you doing, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me back, guys. I mean, last time I was on here, set a swear word record, and I don't think I'm going to try and top it.
Oh, it's been topped. Pump the brakes, buddy. It's been topped.
It's been topped.
Well, I mean, personally wise, but
okay.
I
got you.
Personal best.
No, you have the best for under 20. It's like World Juniors under 20 swear jar. You just overflowed the thing. The best part about that day was we've said many times that your dad was just in the other room, just laughing. He's like, "Fucking rights."
Yeah, my dad
would have beat me.
So you guys finally got to hit the ice after 4 or 5 days of mandatory isolation. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think somebody told me today it was like our past 18 days of 23 have been in quarantine. We've been stuck in our hotel rooms, haven't been able to leave it. It's been brutal. Like one big video game tournament in there? Yeah, pretty much. We played a lot of online poker with each other and stuff like that.
Is Schnarple still a thing in junior?
Yeah, but we can't play cards. Like, how do you can't play cards with each other?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wait, you guys have to quarantine from each other?
In our own rooms. Like
that's
we never
absolutely
left our room.
Bananas.
You're on the bench next to each other for 60 minutes a night, breathing all over each other in the corners. And you can't play cards?
That's what I know.
The fucking
You're the captain of Team
the hotel
Canada.
towels must be taking an absolute licking right now.
Yeah, every time.
This
every
is
time the
how
maids
much
come
bleach they bringing in.
Oh, the maids
How
are
much-
like, no. At least they
Every
don't
time
have
the maids come in,
At least they don't have the
it's like
Czech
quarter
Republic
towel.
floor. Those
Holy
maids.
shit. Imagine the
Yeah, it's
DNA floating around. There's like a CSI crime scene in there. Hey, we know you got named team captain. Whit mentioned your dad. He must, like, what's he going through right now? Among, and then talk about yourself, because I know he's probably jacked up.
Yeah, obviously the family was happy. Got a couple texts from them. Talked to Siebes quite a bit today, actually. Had an hour-long conversation with him on the phone. That was fun. Obviously lived with him, learned quite a bit, and hopefully I don't disappoint him. He told me that if I mess it up, I'm not allowed to live back with him. So hopefully it goes well.
You don't want to fuck up Team Canada World Junior Juju. Hey, what about like when you find out the news? It's one thing because the season's not started, you're not in the NHL, but for this to happen and then be named captain right away, you're just so fired up.
Yeah, obviously last year was tough, not like going or whatever. I mean, Biz can say this too, but growing up in Canada, World Juniors is like means everything to us. So this year, having the opportunity, I'm grateful for it. Obviously, I'm excited to be here, and hopefully we get to start playing games soon. And
you're 1 for 1, am I correct, in international play? Because what you win one at under 18?
1 for 2. I lost at U17s, but won U18s.
Okay, all right. 2 for 3 wouldn't be bad. I'm sorry to say I'm not rooting for you, but still, good luck.
Oh, come on, Whit.
What the fuck, buddy? You think I'm going to root for Team Canada?
Hey, I wanted to know who got named Team DJ. Who gets the DJ? Who gets the iPod? And what the heck are you guys playing in that locker room nowadays?
Ryan Suzuki runs the locker room music pretty well, actually. Or Connor's there. He's had it a couple times. They're pretty good music. A lot of country in the morning, and we're kind of just slow getting. But during the games, there's a lot of big booty. Those mixes are pretty deadly.
What do you mean the big booty? What's this? Something we don't know about?
Yeah.
What are you shaking your head for, Grinnell? What do you know about the big booty?
Booty mixes are the best.
Well, who's
Number
making
11.
them? Who's making them?
Two
These
friends.
guys, 2 friends.
They both have big ass booties.
No, I don't know. I don't even know what they look like.
Is that what the boys are into right now? The young guys, the booty? Is that why
thickness. Everyone wants that thickness now, Biz. These young bucks are sickos.
Oh yeah, we're all messed up.
That is unbelievable. Oh.
Hey, so I want to know, and people are going to have to immediately look up this clip, and Grinnell, you can get it out on Chiclets. When did you think to try that pass I saw in one of those scrimmages? Biz, he's coming down the right side.
That was opening day.
He's a righty for everyone listening at home. His stick's to the outside of the net. He throws it back in his feet, almost looks like he loses it, and at the same time, with his right foot, fires a rocket pass for a one-timer goal. I have never seen that done. So when did that originally come about?
I learned that like 4 or 5 years ago from a skills coach. Daryl Belfry actually taught me that.
He's from Niagara.
Yeah. I worked with Daryl for a couple of years, so I learned that from him, and I tried it all the time in practice. Like I was at a 4-on-4 league back home, and Caden Gooley, who's here with Team Canada, we skate together in the summer, and I must have tried it 100 times in those games.
Like now you're the loser that won't give it up.
Never fucking worked. Never, not one time. And he comes to me and goes, "This is the one time it's worked, and it's televised everywhere. So now you're getting all this clout and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right."
Get the booty mix. Exactly. Get the booty mix out.
It's all about when the cameras are rolling. So you've never? You tried it in WHL games all the time? You're saying, or are you saying?
No, I tried it in summer skates and stuff like that. I've tried it all the time, but I've tried it in the game like a couple times and like in the corner and stuff, and it hasn't worked.
Mitch Love would have pumped your eyes shut if you tried that in the game with the Saskatoon Blades. But
Lover's my coach here.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, he's my assistant coach.
Oh,
yeah,
no way.
That's different if he's assistant.
Yeah. You have to play tummy sticks with the boys if you're the assistant.
Biz, imagine the death stare from Duncan Keith, that legend, if he tries that in a game against St. Louis and he kicks it in the corner.
Yeah, that would be good. 2-on-1 with Kaner.
We'll go back to Taves and Keith, and I'm sure they reached out to you too, and Taves' heroics back in the day. You mentioned Dale Belfry. So did you start working with him on your skills because of Kane? Because him and Kane are tight, right?
Yeah. So obviously, like when I was 13 or 14, the first time I went and saw him, and like that was the big thing, was like this guy was Kaner's skill guy. Like Kaner's learned from him. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I remember the first time I went there, for the first 2 days, I couldn't do anything. Like, not a thing with the puck. And he's like looking at me like, what? Like, what is going on with this guy? Like, he's supposed to be this kid and can't do nothing with the puck. And then after a while, like, you start to figure it out and you feel real good on the ice. But he does so many things like on the ice where it's like translate to my game, where it's like different for Kane and I, which is like unique for a skills coach to do, really.
So he's breaking down your video and games and then showing you in the areas and why you're doing certain drills as far as skills.
Yeah, pretty much. And like for me, being a bigger guy, it's more about puck protection and playing along the wall and learning skills that way. And so he tapers to each guy. Obviously, with Matthews, he works with his shot quite a bit and his release. And that guy's shot is ridiculous.
Yeah, how's that release?
It's stupid, man.
You're gonna find one of those. You could add that to your bag.
Yeah, obviously that's the plan, but I don't think I'll ever shoot the puck like him.
Well, you got to get quads like that probably first.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Quadzilla. Take me back. How old are you in 2003 when I got a player of the game against Belarus because I had 3 assists in World Juniors in Halifax? How old were you then?
I would have been 2.
Jeez, you were born in 2001. So my best moment in my international career was a 3-assist game against Belarus in the World Juniors. What's your first World Junior memory?
Like one that sticks out?
Yeah, one that you're like, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9, and you think back like, oh my God,
well, like
that's where I want to do.
The taser shootout one's
good answer.
Pretty vivid.
You remember that? How old were you then?
Yeah, I would have been 6 or 7.
Oh, only a 6-year-old Canadian kid would remember the World Junior.
I got that one, and then the Eberle one was a big one when he scored with like 5 seconds left against the Russians. That's that you're on the outdoor rink, you practice that all the time. You're like 5, 4. You put it in, you're celebrating nuts with your buddies and stuff.
Kirby, we mentioned the captaincy already, but you're also the only NHLer on the roster. Does it kind of feel a little bit like all eyes on you between the media and your teammates a little bit?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of good players here, and obviously Quentin Byfield just went 2nd overall. There's Cousins here, Byram. The list goes on and on with the talent we have, but I think we're all pretty humbled and in this experience. I mean, how are all these guys going to play first line power play, first line? So we got to figure that out, and I think that's a good thing about Team Canada is that we're able to take so many talented players and make a 20-man roster.
Don't fall into that trap, you guys. Some first liners going to have to be a 4th liner this tournament. Good luck trying to calm one of your boys down.
That's not an issue with Team Canada.
No,
these guys know it's
never.
about the flag. We know it's about the flag, right, Kirby? You tell them.
Yeah, the maple leaf across your chest, singing "O Canada" at the end of the tournament.
Hey, baby.
I know other teams weren't so crazy about having some of their prospects play in the World Junior, but did Chicago leave the decision basically all up to you?
I approached my agent, and then he approached Stan, I think a couple of days before the draft, and said, hey, this is something Kirby wants to do. I mean, he wanted to play in it last year, and Stan's like, hey, we'll talk about it after the draft. So after the draft, got another phone call with Stan, and he said, if this is something you want to do and we're not starting and it's not going to interfere with the schedule, go ahead. And I was like, all right, sounds good to me. So I've been here since day one, and it was, I think they told me 51 days we're going to spend in hotels for the World Juniors.
And that's after what you went through in the bubble with Chicago. And you had a great playoff, 6 points, 9 games. I mean, must have felt pretty good to end your first NHL year when you were playing pretty dominating role there.
Yeah, I felt good coming back to the Chicago bubble, like before we went to Edmonton. Honestly, I think your draft year is so long. Like you have the under 18s at the beginning of the year, you play your whole junior career or your junior season. Then you go from the combine to the draft you even have U18s after, like the World Championships and development camps and all these World Junior camp too in the summer. You have all this shit going on that you don't have time to really train or rest. So when I got home from Chicago, like during the first COVID hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to take I think I took a month off of skating and just trained. I just felt good, like to kind of get in the gym and get a routine again, and felt strong on the ice when I came back. Worked with my trainer there, and he's really helped me out a lot, to be honest with you. He's really changed the way I've trained, and even at 19 years old, I do a lot of things that I probably wouldn't think I'd be doing at this age.
Even nutrition. I know younger in my career, like, I was working out and stuff, but I'd be eating like a shithead.
Yeah. I try and track what I eat a little bit. I mean, obviously I'm going to have my cheat meal here and there when I'm out with my buddies or something like that. But I eat pretty healthy at home. I like to think so, at least.
You're picking up all the checks for your buddies at home now, right?
A little bit. Sometimes they'll pick it up. I got good buddies at home.
Oh yeah, but they'll be better if they're like, Doc, or you have tonight. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. There's been the odd night I've treated them.
Earls.
Yeah, Earls
Cactus
Happy Hour.
Club.
Cactus Club, please.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are staples in Canada.
Kirby, how would you grade your first NHL season overall, including the playoffs?
I think there's a lot of ups and downs. Obviously 18 years old playing in the best league, and it's going to be tough, and I'm going to have my times where I struggle and times where I flourish. So I got to find a way to be more consistent. I think that's a big thing for me, is being able to be consistent. I think in playoffs I was really good there.
Did you hit the so-called rookie wall? We hear about it all the time. Some guys seem to jump over, other guys really hit it. Did you experience that at all?
Yeah, I think there was a stretching at 23 games without a point or something like that. That's
Those are biz numbers. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was tough.
I know.
And he wasn't playing the DJ role either.
Yeah.
No, I was a pigeon in the locker room, not saying anything, listening to all these guys talk.
You said you talked to Siebes. Did Taves call you?
I texted with Taser a little bit. He was supposed to call me, and then he just never called me back.
Oh,
it's like, yeah, I'll get back to you when you get the night before the gold medal game, because
that's going to make CSN. Now you're really fucked.
Snubs teammate, Team Canada captain.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Taser texts me. He's busy. He's always doing something, training.
For returning players, have they stepped up to talk about what the experience was like last year winning gold, and what you have to go through as a team? And has that taken a little bit of pressure off you as well? Maybe not knowing some of these guys and them being named captain?
Yeah. Those guys obviously know what the tournament takes to win. I lean on Cousin and Bo quite a bit. Obviously we grew up playing against each other, and they're both the assistant captains for a reason. So those guys are good buddies of mine, and we have a lot of fun off the ice. And I think we're all just looking forward to start playing games again. For some of these guys, the guys that didn't play in the queue or myself haven't played a game since last March. So I think everybody's just a little antsy to get going.
Were you ever captain before at any level?
Yeah, I split captaincy duties at U16, so Team Alberta, when played for that. But other than that, I've never been a captain. I've always been kind of an assistant captain.
I'm interested. Your team, first off, what is it 20 first rounders? Biz, you said the number earlier.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Either way, it's just insane group of talent put together. I'm a defense guy, or an offensive defense guy. This Bowen Byram, for hockey fans out there, maybe not Colorado Avalanche fans, just another freak on D coming into your Denver homes soon. So I just want you to describe him a little bit.
I'd describe Bo as a fourth forward. He's so good with the puck. He's fun to play with. He always puts it on your tape, and on the power play, he's so patient with the puck up top and always seems to make the right play. But at the same time, he's really good in the D zone. He's got a good stick, and he's really starting to fill out and be kind of a hassle in the corners to deal with. I think that's something that he learned going back to Colorado for the bubble experience too, is just how hard it is to play at that level against those big guys. And obviously he's got McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen to practice against all the time, and I'm sure that's no fun. But he's taken a lot of strides. I think he'll be a really good player for a long time.
Who's Teams Canada's jester? Who's the guy, the absolute clown of the locker room, tucking it in, doing the mangina, getting the boys going before the games? Canada needs to know who's doing all that and getting Canada's juju going.
We got a couple of guys. Bo, I'd say, is one of them. He's pretty funny. Our goalie Taylor Gauthier, he's actually, I'd say he's number one for sure.
Wow, a goalie
Frenchman
too.
No, he's from Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, is he?
Alberta
Okay.
boy. Alberta boy. Good kid.
Oh yeah. Well, it must be a lot of Westerners on this team this year. I haven't even looked at how many guys from the Q, but as it gets to World Juniors, they need the toughness from out west, right?
Yeah, I think we have 9 guys here from the Western League. I think it's the most we've ever had.
So it must be different than the other bubble. Guys were pretty much buckled the first 2 weeks of the NHL bubble. This is a little bit different this time. But so when can you interact with the other teams? Are you gonna have to stay in your room the whole time? How's
They
that?
can't even
work?
play cards with each other.
I know. That's what I'm curious.
They're not talking to any other guys on the other teams.
Yeah. like what kind of said, we're not really allowed to talk to anybody else besides our own team. But I think after the first week or so, they're just going to kind of loosen up on the rules and let us roam a little bit more than kind of having us locked down, which will be nice.
Yeah. Has there been anything that you've thought of to keep yourselves entertained that'd be outside the box that people would find funny?
No, not really. We've kind of kept it like everybody's got their like Xboxes or PS5s or something like that here. So we're usually dialed in on that stuff and doing all that. But for me, I spend a lot of time on FaceTime talking to buddies and stuff. It makes the time go way faster than just sitting in your room staring at the same four walls all the time.
Now, you fire up the Netflix at all, Prime guy, or just video games, FaceTime?
No, I watch a lot of TV shows. I just finished watching
nice.
Yellowstone.
Actually,
with Kevin Costner. I love Kevin Costner. He's a great actor. That's a great show. I can't even take credit for that TV show. Brent Seabrook got me into it. I think he was telling the guys in Chicago for like 2 years that it's a good TV show. Nobody believed him except for me. And then I watched it and told everybody it's actually good. Now everybody watches it. But it's a good TV show. It's my favorite by far.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Kevin Costner kind of doing the grizzled old rancher thing he's never done before. Plus, it's probably the best looking show on TV too. The scenery's incredible on that thing.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It makes me want to become a rancher, but I know I never will.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
former Team Canada World Junior Captain, now rancher.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do the work.
Barrels of cash.
Just to go to Stampede and get tap-ins. Last question I was going to ask you: who's your celebrity crush? Who you like these days? Madison Beers or something? Is that one of them?
Yeah, honestly, that's a good. He's
answer. A legit missile launcher.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd say Madison Beers for sure. Yeah, hands down. Now that I think about it. And she's a singer too. Both. Perfect.
We appreciate you coming on again so much though, buddy. I wish you luck. I don't want you to win, but I hope you do great.
Thanks, Whit.
And last thing, you're taking Jack Sparrow as the look you're going with the facial hair. Did we establish that?
I've just gotten lazy and haven't shaved it in a while. Usually Hockey Canada is like short hair, shaved face, look good. Now we all look raggedy with our long hair and our terrible beards.
All right, buddy. Best of luck. No pressure. I won't be hitting you up.
Sounds good.
That's because you can't get any tickets for him to like sell and make a little cash.
Yeah. Scalp them on the side.
Kirby, thanks so much for joining us again. Not even 20 years old. Already got 2 episodes under your belt.
I'm doing swipe ups for meet and greets at the gate in the quarantine bubble in Edmonton. Let's talk about that. We'll get the cologne going because fucking Leon Draisaitl didn't want to do it.
For sure.
All right. See you, Doctor. Best of luck, buddy.
Back burner. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
I want to send a huge thanks to Captain Kirby for joining us in the World Junior from the World Junior bubble. Great kid. Again, second appearance already, not even 20 years old. He's a super kid, Biz, easy to root for. And did you happen to see that McDavid video? It actually dropped after we recorded our last episode. Pretty good stuff, huh?
Folks, it hadn't been out yet. And all of a sudden that came out. I'm like, oh no, McDavid on the Jumbotron in Edmonton announcing the fact that he's captain. How do we not ask him about this? But then I looked and I think they kept it under wraps at least till that night. So unfortunately we didn't get to ask him, but that's got to be a dream come true nonetheless. And good luck to Team Canada. There's going to be a lot of pressure. There's a couple other teams that at least to this point hadn't gotten consideration, but the more information you hear about it, and RA, I'll throw it over to you. It's not going to be an easy task here.
Yeah, I mean, the Russians, I was just taking a look at the odds here. They're 5-1, and they have a new coach now, Igor Larionov, who was a fantastic NHL player, but he didn't get into the NHL until he was 29 years old. He was playing for the Team Russia, the Russian army. This was back in the early 80s, where Russia didn't want their players in America. I mean, it was still during the Cold War. There was all this, politicization of everything, and they really didn't want their players here. So he was taken in the 11th round of the 1985 draft. Didn't end up getting to the NHL to Vancouver till he was 29 years old. He played in Vancouver for a few years. Of course, everybody knows him at Detroit. They played the Russian 5 style of play. Now, he had played that previously for the Russian army under Viktor Tikhonov. Then he played it in Detroit, and now he's going to incorporate that style of play with the Russian World Juniors, which, if you've ever seen it, the style of play from the Red Wings back then is incredible. Whit, can you describe in layman's terms exactly, so the Russian 5 style of play and how it works?
It's amazing because when I was in Russia, you really would practice 5 guys in a color, and his unit was, I think it was the green line, the green unit, or they might have called this. And it was, so in Russia, he was so incredibly talented, this guy. And the whole Russian unit thing is like, it's not forwards working together as three guys. It's not a defensive pair working in front of the net in the corner. It's 5 guys. Like every single part of the ice, they all have different jobs, and all their jobs can be interchangeable. So they get 5 super skilled guys together that all of a sudden not only are skilled on different levels, but they know their game so well. They know each other inside and out. So they're able to just move. And I tell you, Larionov, I had the chance to, one of the best, most patient goals I've ever seen in the Stanley Cup final was his triple OT winner in 2002 against Carolina. That was the game that we went as top prospects, like going into the draft. Upshaw, Lupul, Baumeister, myself, Rick Nash. You get to do the interview with Don Cherry. I've talked about it a bunch with guys we've interviewed. And
is this the new Pee Wee tournament? You're just going to mention this every episode?
Well, listen, that's why I made you talk about Larionov. So I'm at this game, and you're all hanging out together. And at some point, I was just off on my own. I met John Buchagras there, and then I'm standing in the corner where Larionov comes down and just waits out. Who was in net? Urbe?
Yeah.
Waits out Archis Urbe and just shelves. And it was so sick because the guy's the professor. It was exactly how he plays. So smart, so smooth. And the fact that he's now coaching, like I said, the Russian coaching can be different. I mean, it's like they play in 5-man units, but they also,
a lot of individualism.
Yes, and the coaching too. It's like so robotic, and like I don't know. It's hard to describe, but they don't give guys many freedoms. At least not like the best players. Now Larionov, you got to think he's gonna have a different approach, the way he thinks the game. And I mean, I would love to, like, if you could throw money on Russia. I'm not rooting for Russia, but you never, like, it seems like in this tournament they're always in the mix. They're always in the mix.
I think the way he described it, trying to.
You chirped me last podcast for just saying the Russian goalie was good, and now you're saying you're rooting for Russia?
No, you're so dumb. You're so fucking dumb. On Twitter, too, you're like, Sweden's going to win. I'm like, where are you from? I'm saying that if you want value to a bet, you bet the Russians. I'm not rooting for the Russians.
That's what I was saying. That's all I was saying, too.
No. You were like, Sweden's. I'm going to come on Sweden. They're my team.
You were chirping me for Russia, though.
I don't remember that.
Nikolai Has-Been-Buzin's their goalie coach, so look out. This guy's going to be teaching these fucking young kids how to stop some pucks. But Larionov did an interview with TSN. I forget who conducted the interview, but he just said he's trying to change their way of thinking to where they're being a little bit better at conserving their energy out there too, because especially in such a short tournament and you're playing every other day, or maybe you got even 2 days in between, but it's congested, and all of a sudden, you go from, well, at least not playing a lot of games because there's a little bit of a gap here by the time they come over and get into the swing of things, to when the backside of the tournament, when you get into the round robin, if you haven't conserved energy and you're not playing with the puck, and you're not going to win. And especially with them, considering they're going up against Canada and other countries who are pretty stacked this year, they're going to have to do everything in their power. What was the other thing he was talking about? He said one of their advantages too, though, and it kind of contradicts what I said to a certain degree, was earlier in the year is a decent amount of these guys on this World Junior team were playing with KHL clubs. So they've been in the midst of games. So they're in better game shape than a lot of people.
Very true.
In
a high level too.
At a high level as well. That's I would say it's probably the next best caliber besides the NHL. It's got a little bit of a different style of play. It's a little bit less chances from the
league. The AHL's they're tough to distinguish who's better, but it's certainly really good hockey, especially if you're going to then go to the World Juniors where guys haven't played in 9 months.
So don't sleep on these Russians, guys. And another fun fact about Larionov for you non-hockey fans is this guy used to drink a glass of wine with his pregame meal before every game. So this guy would crush a nice glass. He said, what did he say? It just calmed him down. Was that what he used to say?
I try to dig, because I did read that in the article, but I couldn't find the original source on it. It said he was said to have a glass of wine before every game, a glass of red wine before.
I want to say it was Robert.
He just had one because Chelios had 7. He's like, all right, I'll have one to finish the bottle. Jesus, Chelly. I think.
I've been with guys who have a shot glass and a flask in their toiletry kit, and they would take a shot before games.
I played with a guy in in the minors that just ripped a huge bowl after pregame skate. I'm like, what? He's like, I get the best snap.
I've heard of guys
he played
in
hard too. It wasn't like this dude you'd ever think that. But that was like, I would be asleep
some people
until
listening
the next morning.
Maybe be like, oh, it's so unprofessional, where it's like sometimes the anxiety and how anxious guys are. I've also played with guys who like puke before when they're going to start. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's who was one of the most
man.
famous goaltender of all time? Didn't he used to puke before games?
Oh,
One of the most famous goals.
Was it?
Maybe it was one of them. Why are you laughing at, Grinelli?
Because like
such a biz move to bring something up like that and just not know the answer.
yeah, he's bringing it up like an awesome story, and then he's like, I don't know.
One of our loyal
goalies.
listeners is going to say, "Yep, this star player used to vomit before."
Let's think of the best goalies of all time. Patrick Roy. No, I don't think he did.
It might not even be a goalie. I just that was the first thing my brain thought of.
Yeah.
I said goalie.
It's just the guy. It's the guy who plays men's league at Welling.
Either get the shits or puke or any stomach issues before a game.
Also World Juniors makes me sorry. All right.
No, but
World Juniors, I always like to remind people of the line that Russia had at one point. That was Sergei Fedorov, Alexander Mogilny, and Pavel Bure. That was a line in World Juniors for Russia.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that Dmitry Filipovic clip. Are we going to bring that up about Fedorov?
There we go. Go ahead. You could say it.
He had was it a 5-goal game against the Washington Capitals? He ended up scoring
and
the
they
OT
won
winner.
5-4 too.
And was that considered the Russian 5 to a certain degree?
Absolutely, yeah.
That was the prime of it.
Yep.
You know what?
A lot of backdoor passes.
Every goal was tic-tac-toe, and Fedorov with 5 goals, and they get the OT winner. It was something else. So if you can go check out that guy's Twitter account, he ended up throwing out another clip that was over 2 minutes of some of the goals they scored that year.
And that clip of the 5-goal game, I don't know what goal it is. It might be the first, but it reminds you how Vladimir Konstantinov wasn't just a killer on the ice. He was sick with the puck offensively. He was quick. He'd get up in the rush, and you see a couple plays he makes. He gives Fedorov pretty much a tap in. And in that, that was the 5-man unit that you talk about.
Fetisov, Konstantinov, Fedorov, Kozlov, and Larionov. And, of course, like I said, he did it with the Team Russia, too, or the Russian around him. He sent the line with Krutov and Makarov and had Fetisov and Kasatonov on that 5-man unit. So,
and that's the Russian 5 movie. And that call comes back to the Russian 5 is about that unit. That Larionov unit, right?
Yeah, he was part of the one with the Russians and one with the Red Wings, which is pretty crazy because he didn't become a Red Wing until he was 35 years old. I mean, just before he was 35, actually, he won his 3 cups there. I also want to mention his 2 Olympic golds in 84 and 88, Hockey Hall of Fame in 2008, and Biz, just one of 6 players to win an Olympic gold, a World Champion gold, Stanley Cup, a Canada/World Cup, and a World Junior Championship gold.
Is that good?
Like 6 guys in the world have done that, and the professor's done it. So, guys, throwing some on Russia right now.
Going back to Fedorov, and I think Grinnell, you posted something to the Spittin Chiclets Twitter about some of the gear that has been worn throughout the years, like Ovechkin with the full tint visor. But going back to Fedorov with those white Nike skates and that white Nike bucket. It was a bit of a knockoff from the Bauer 4000 helmet, but nobody in the league had better style, and more kids wanted to look like that guy on the ice, just cruising in the wind with that gear wear.
He was a superstar every aspect. He's one of the reasons I'm getting into soccer. He was like a soccer superstar with the flair and the look of the white skates. I mean, I remember
would David Beckham be a fair comparison?
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
was Beckham really that good, or was he better? He more just better looking?
I think Beckham was pretty nasty. I'm getting in. I don't know yet. I'll learn.
Yeah.
But Fedorov. The clip of coming out to the All-Star game, just like a little smile. You're like, holy Jesus, buddy.
I think he was crushing.
And then he was with Kornikova.
She broke his Kornikova. She fucking gave him a career slump when she dumped him, man. That's like kind
really.
They were a very public romance.
Baby,
yeah.
Is she married to Enrique Iglesias?
Oh, they're still together, man. I thought that was going to be a quick pump and dump.
Baby.
I will wash away the pain. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Arr, Finnegan's gonna start howling.
I got a great voice, no?
Biz has peanut butter on his ball sack right now as he sings.
All right, boys, moving.
Actually, that's the spot.
Happy birthday or Merry Christmas, Mr. Finnegan.
Mr. Finnegan sings Feliz Navidad because you're in Arizona, right near the line.
At least not.
We got some more NHL notes to go back to. Nothing to do with the CBA, fortunately. Unrestricted free agent Anthony Duclair signed a 1-year, $1.7 million deal at Florida. The 25-year-old had 23 goals, 17 assists in 66 games with Ottawa last year. This seems like a nice, cheap pickup for Florida. I mean, the kid can obviously score, and he's unrestricted. He has a 40-goal season. Someone's going to maybe wiggle $6 million at him next year.
I think they kind of like that run and gun too. Like I don't think they're necessarily very good defensively. And I know they picked up Bobrovsky to close the door, but this is a perfect insert in a guy who can, and remember, they lost Trocheck. That was a big loss offensively. Maybe Duclair can slide in there. And we talked about him representing himself. I don't know if he ended up picking up an agent, but I think this is going to be perfect for him. And he's going to be able to put up similar numbers that he did in Ottawa. And hopefully he can end up getting that long-term contract that he deserves. So I think it's a great move. And guys, I have to say it. No state income tax.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence just learned about that. The Jets fucking those two. I don't know how I just thought NFL. It's a no risk signing. I think Florida's looking for goal scoring. By the way, Mike Hoffman, he doesn't have a contract. What's going on there?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's probably sitting on offers. I mean, I'm sure he'll sign soon, but I don't think there was any urgency because no one's really started skating yet.
Is there any other high end free agent that's just sitting at home without a contract? Because it's such an interesting situation as to like if a team does have cap room and let's say they get off to a decent start and they weren't expected to.
Corey Perry's unrestricted. He'd be a great veteran, especially a short season.
Correct, but he wouldn't be having the ask that Hoffman's asking now. Hoffman was probably looking at this offseason at getting 5.5, 6 with his consistency as far as goal scoring. This guy is, speaking of fucking spit, no loop, sandpaper finish. Like this is, I think it's going to be a similar situation to Hall, where he's going to be able to come in for a year. He's going to prove it. He's going to get probably in that 5-6 range for 1 year. And then he's going to have to do it again. And then all of a sudden, hopefully things are back to normal. And then he's going to reverse sandpaper finish on the owner or the GM.
And maybe teams biz have said like, hey, just sit tight. We're going to do it, but they have to move all the money around first, or maybe have to make a deal to make cap room. But this guy's going to get signed, no doubt about it. He's too skilled.
You guys talked about Boston needing a winger. Is this someone that you guys would like?
I think Bruins fans would just start rubbing each other all over the place if we signed him.
100%. Krejci is known to be a finicky center, and not everyone lines up perfect with him. But I don't know how him and Hoffman wouldn't work. The guy's, too pure of a goal scorer. I'd love it. They don't have Krug to pay. We're not sure if Chara's coming back, so money might not be an issue.
I agree completely.
I'm
just surprised he hasn't signed yet. All right. So do you think if he's not signed by like January 1st, you'd start to be like, this is kind of weird? Or do you both think he's just sitting on offers waiting to make up his mind?
I don't think that. I think that he's hoping for that he ends up getting close to maybe his number. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to turn out more like a Hall situation. I wouldn't be surprised if it went past the start of the season, but the question I have is like, what's going to be the rule on that? And I guess we don't need to go there.
Another whole can of worms.
I think he signs before the season. I think he does a 1-year deal, Hall situation. That's what I think.
All right, we'll see. Well, we got some good news coming as well. Oscar Lindblom, Philadelphia Flyer, he remains cancer-free after his second checkup just over a year after being diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. So obviously great news to hear. What he went through, had a tough season, managed to come back to the playoffs in a very inspirational moment. But of course, we want him on the ice. So Oscar, welcome back, and we're very happy.
He started off hot last year. Absolutely.
Hot. Yeah, he's a hell of a player, man, and we'd love to see him healthy. And great news to hear. And obviously, we just mentioned the holiday season, and our friends over at NHTSA want to spread 2 messages: drive sober or get pulled over. And if you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. From December 16th, 2020 through January 1st of 2021, law enforcement officers across the U.S. will be increasing enforcement on impaired drivers. The consequences of driving drunk, like getting a DUI, your insurance going up, the possibility of a crash, or worse, killing someone, are always there, following you like a wave, ready to crash at any moment. So again, drive sober or get pulled over. On average, a DUI can set you back $10,000 in attorney's fees, fines, court costs, lost time at work, higher insurance, car towing. You might lose your job. All right, that's foolish. It's not worth it. Always celebrate with a plan. Always remember to plan ahead if you're going to be celebrating. If you plan to drink, plan for a sober driver or Uber, Lyft, whatever, to get you home. It's your turn to be the designated driver. Take that role seriously and don't drink. Not even one. It's not worth it, all right? A DUI covers more than just alcohol, too. Drugs that can make you feel different, make you drive different. If you go, you could also get a DUI for that. Talk much. Also remember, if you feel different, don't drive. Never drive high. You drive high, you get a DUI. So be smart this holiday season and listen to our friends at NHTSA. Drive sober or get pulled over. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Folks, you're too old to know better. Don't be a goofball this holiday season. We're all going to be celebrating. Just be smart about it. That's all we're asking you to do. All right, moving right along. Our buddy Henrik Lundqvist, this is some tough news. He's going to miss his first season with the Caps due to a heart condition. Quote, we have decided the risk of playing before remedying my condition is too high, so I will spend the coming months figuring out the best course of action. He's going to spend some time with his family. You got to feel terrible for him, Whit? I mean, this, huge career change. He had a rough year last year, going to basically sort of restart his career, I guess, late, and then this pops up out of nowhere, seemingly.
Awful news, and it was exciting to think of him in another uniform, and to go to a team like Washington, who's looking to rebound off kind of a disappointing season and off to a new beginning with a goalie that isn't proven, right? So you didn't know. I think any fan of the Capitals could have seen Lundqvist all of a sudden being the starter of that team. You never know. So to have it kind of end like that, or I don't want to say end like that. I think I actually saw a tweet. I don't remember who it was by, saying, "Oh, this is the end for him." Like, I don't know if he's going to want to go out like this right now. Who knows what's going to go on with the heart and what ends up being the future diagnosis, but just a shitty tweet to see. The video that he put up, I kind of just saw it like that. I was like, that's a bummer, because not only as a fan was I excited to see him somewhere else, I'm sure he was really ready to prove people wrong and go in and play as well as he could.
Yeah, and I think people could see his genuine love for the game and how much joy it brings them. And you could tell, like you said, Whit, by that video, it was tough to watch. So let's hope he gets better and he's able to have a better send-off, because this shouldn't be the end of that career, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. Speaking of ends of careers, we want to send congrats to St. Louis Blue Alex Steen. He's retiring after 15 seasons due to a back injury. Of course, he won the Stanley Cup with the Blues in 2019. He spent his first 3 years with Toronto. He got traded along with Carlo Koliakovo for Lee Stempniak, and he ended up spending the rest of his career at St. Louis, played a huge role there. He's got $3.5 million due to him next year. Basically, he's not technically retired, so the Blues are going to put his money on long-term injury reserve so they can go over the cap if they need to. But, man, as a guy who's been watching the league for a long time, I felt like yesterday that he got traded, because he actually played with Big Walt, and his father played with Big Walt back in Winnipeg back in the 90s. So, I mean, that was 13 years ago he got traded to St. Louis. So, again, the Steens just the fourth father-son duo in NHL history to register 600 points apiece, joining the Howes, the Hulls, and the Stastny. So, do you know him at all, Biz?
Well, we were with him at training camp, and Whit, I don't know. We're going to talk about soccer later. Did he get you on the Chelsea train? Because I believe
he's Man City, which was one of the teams I was considering. Yeah, so I remember he had the socks. So Biz and I met him at the same time, and I can't describe to you this guy. Like, the way I would put it is he was the ultimate like pro hockey player. Yeah. I showed up to the rink. I knew nothing about him. He's doing like 30-minute bike rides before. Yeah,
professional.
Dressed quick on the ice. He's doing every drill perfect. He's the hardest guy to move. He's the one that's like going 100% balls to the wall every practice. This was in training camp. You can tell the respect he gets. Everyone loves him. He's funny. He's laughing with guys. He's the ultimate teammate. And we didn't even get to play real games with him, Biz. But this guy was so nice to us and just so respected by the entire organization, trainers. Everyone's like, Steener, if Steener said something, it got done. And when I saw that he retired, I was like, fucking, I am so happy he won a Stanley Cup. Made me so happy. And think about a guy who I was in 2 training camps with. That's how I know him. And I speak like I knew the guy for fucking years, because he was that friendly and that easy to get along with for me and you, Biz, that I was like, oh, this guy is the ultimate pro.
Yeah, work ethic definitely stood out in the training camp I spent with him. He was always on the old school Monarch bike.
Yeah.
Everybody'd move on.
I think he had a Discman too from Sweden too. He's like just biking along like Rocky.
And most mornings you'd get in there, you'd be one of the first guys there, riding the bike, getting ready for practice. The work ethic definitely stood out. But it was not only that, but like we were there for training camp on PTOs. So he extended his arm out to us. And every time they were going to eat larger than a group of 3 or 4 guys, the invite was extended to us. So I remember when I left there, I felt like I was part of the team, and that's why it was so sad. But it was definitely great to experience another organization, although it was only for a few weeks, where I never had a negative one. It was great. Armstrong all the way down, and it sucks that he has to retire because of injury, but it's awesome that he ended up going to a place that eventually fell in love with him, and vice versa. He got a Stanley Cup, and I think that maybe it's not the way he wanted to go out, but I think he can sit back and be like, hey, that was you can't really draw him up better than that.
Leafs fans have to they have to look back at that one and say, oh my God, we could have had that.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Over 1,000 games played in a hell of a career. And keeping with the St. Louis Blues theme here, Ryan O'Reilly will be the next Blues captain, taking over after 4 seasons of Alex Pietrangelo. He'll be the 23rd captain in team history. No real surprise here. He's only been there 2 seasons. He's already won the Cup, the Conn Smythe, the Selke, 2-time All-Star. 138 points in 153 games played, 34 points in 35 playoff games played. Consummate leader on and off the ice. You don't hear enough good things about this guy, it seems like. So,
well, there you go. No surprise St. Louis won. You just talked, Pietrangelo is out of town now. He was a true leader, brought the work ethic every day. Same with Ryan O'Reilly now being named the 23rd captain. And then you had Steener on the team too. So a lot of guys pulling the rope there, a lot of great candidates, but Ryan O'Reilly, I mean, look at the fucking resume. Look what he's done since he's been traded there. This was a layup. This was a no-brainer.
Yeah, at 4:35, it gets dark. Then 6:30, it gets light out. That's just kind of the news when you hear Ryan O'Reilly's named captain.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
I was wondering where you were going.
I saw it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This big news.
They just making it official, I guess.
No, I'm not chirping you.
I know, buddy. All right, a couple more notes before we send it over. We still got James Duthie, gang. We still got a whole bunch of time with James Duthie, which is great, by the way. He was a lot of fun to talk to. A couple of the notes here. Edmonton GM Kenny Holland announced that defenseman Oscar Klefbom will miss the upcoming season due to a shoulder injury. Some of these words that trip me up. 5 goals, 29 assists in 62 games last year. This one's from Elliot Friedman. Tampa Bay's cap issues may be solved by long-term injury reserve. There is word Nikita Kucherov is battling an injury that may keep him out a while. No comment from team agents, so details are sketchy, but clarity expected this week. If unable to play, unfortunately, it will clear room for the Lightning. Obviously, they're a team that people are expecting to make moves because they need to in order to be compliant, but LTIR would certainly help them out. And one final note before we send it over to Duthie, congrats to Jordan Tutu. He celebrated 10 years of sobriety. He tweeted about it the other day. Jordan, congrats, brother, from all of us at Chiclets. It's a hell of an accomplishment. It's not an easy thing to do, and keep on doing what you're doing, brother. We're awful proud of you, and we know it's not easy. So everybody here is very proud of what you've done.
Amazing news right there. And back to Kucherov, in 2015, this happened. Kane got put on LTIR. He got hurt against the Panthers. And then he came back and they won the Cup, and doesn't, you can just put him in when there's no salary cap in the playoffs. So this could end up working out. Now, at the same time, there was some people saying, oh, very convenient. It's like, yeah, they want to play the whole 56 sprint regular season without one of the best players in the world. They were trying to do this. So it could end up working out for Tampa.
Bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's sit all our star players for the whole season, and then
we'll get in, and we'll bring them back with no cap.
It's fucking genius.
Sounds good if it works, but I don't think that was the game plan.
And to summarize Klefbom being out and Witt, you summarized it perfectly. Just your standard kick in the dick for Oilers fans on Twitter. So,
injury to a defenseman, Sheldon Surrey. I got hurt. Who else? I don't know. I got hurt again. I sucked.
Enjoy Duthie, guys.
Klefbom.
And I believe one of the videos that was mentioned was the spoof video. They did when they take my goal away. What's it called? The YouTube link I sent today.
Oh, is it? Don't take my goal away, because he did the puck over glass too. That one's fucking hilarious.
I know puck over glass. I haven't seen that other one.
Yeah, don't take my goal away. Him, O-Dog, Martin Biron said that French. Biron. and Noodles. So check that out too, guys. They do a lot of silly stuff at TSN, and those are the top dogs. So enjoy Duthie.
Well, it's a pleasure to bring on our next guest. You know him from his excellent work up on TSN in Canada. He's won a bevy of awards for his hosting work. He's also quite the world junior savant. And he just dropped his 4th book, Beauties, Hockey's Greatest Untold Stories, which you can find wherever books are sold. Thanks so much for joining us on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, James Duthie. How are we doing, brother?
All right, boys. How are you guys? Everything's great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, what are they called? That all the awards you've won? It's like the Emmys, the Canadian Emmys, right?
Well, I don't like to talk.
What do you do with all of them? I know
Juno,
there's some.
Juno too.
Gemini.
People always say, "How many have you won?" And I go, "Guys, I don't keep track of that. 9. It's 9. No." They used to call them Geminis, and now they changed it to Canadian Screen Awards. And it's such a Canadian show because you don't recognize hardly anybody who wins. And I shouldn't, I'm not trying to be derogatory to Canadian actors and shows and such, but hey, there's Jerry D, and there's that guy. What's that show again? That's kind of what it's like at the award show, but it's great.
Get 50% gift cards to the 50% off gift cards to the keg, though. So it's kind of nice.
That's all you get when you walk on stage. There's no trophy. They just hand you that. Timmy's, $20 at Timmy's.
Well, Grinelli said to me, he said, what's an example of how Duthie is someone in America in sports broadcasting? I said, it kind of Scott Van Peltish. I mean, you're covering all the main events. I know he does a show every night and your main thing's hockey, but where you're at in your career, I can't imagine you ever saw this when you were younger and when you originally got into this business, because it's pretty cool to see that you're the number one guy in Canada for all the big events, Olympics, no matter what it is. So take me kind of through the beginning of where this all began, or this passion for it.
I think like everybody, like every Canadian kid, I was a failed athlete who wanted to be a hockey player, but I was in Victoria my early years. So when I moved to Ottawa, I was 8 and I'd never skated. And so I had the Lang
nerd
and then the Micron mascot, the big boot skates, because my ankles were so wussy. And my dad didn't buy me a jock for the first 2 years because he was cheap as hell and he didn't think anybody could raise the puck. And so I didn't really catch up till I was like 14. And then I wanted to be a football player. And I really literally thought in grade 12 I was going to play in the NFL. And nobody ever had the courage to say to you, you are like 5'9", about 5'10". I only am 5'10" because I got a big long head. And I like 145 skinny guy with mediocre speed. But I really was so delusional. And then
you were Rudy?
Yeah, I was Rudy. I got one school. McGill recruited me. I was going to play cornerback for McGill, and then I was going to go play for the 49ers. And then somebody slapped me in the face in grade 12 or grade 13 and said, you better not do that. So I decided the sportscasting gig. And then I was a news reporter because I couldn't get a sports job. So I was covering murders and fires and all that crap for about 8 years before I actually finally got into sports.
Go ahead, Gibbs. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, was there a time you thought about quitting that industry because you couldn't get your head into the sports world?
No, I mean, I thought for a while, Biz, that I would never get into sports, just because back then, like TSN was in its infancy. There were no other networks. Every sports station had 2 old guys who'd been there forever. So I did think for a while that I am going to be the local news guy forever. I'm going to be the guy that's like, live Simpsons. At 5. Let's send it out to James Duthie. He's at the local Ottawa Valley cow milking contest. And I'll be like, thank you, Max. Here's Betsy. I'm really working her. That's really what I thought my life was going to be. And then was lucky enough somebody saw me on TSN and I got a chance and was able to get there finally.
James Duthie's down there covering the most recent traffic jam we have. Let's go live to James.
You want to know the truth? My very first summer on the job, I was 22 years old, and the Gulf War broke out, and they sent me down to Parliament Hill to do a live shot at the beginning of the 6 o'clock news because it was summer and all the other senior reporters were on vacation or whatever, and I didn't know anything. And Max, our anchor man, he always wanted to test the reporters, so he comes on, he's like, James, what do you think Canada's move is going to be in the Gulf War? And in my head, I'm going, I don't have a freaking clue. Like, invade, don't invade, send in the Navy, send in the Army. Do we have a Navy? I didn't know. So that was my first test as a broadcaster because I kind of had to fake it, right? Like everybody fakes it. And so I went, right now, Cabinet's having an emergency meeting in the building behind me, and they're looking over every possible option. They'll be evaluating all of the options, and in due time, they'll make a decision. But for now, Max, only time will tell. Back to you.
I mean, that's big time.
Right?
That's big time. You even closed it up. You put a nice bow on it like that too. And the point back.
You actually say nothing whatsoever, and that's half the way the news media is. I realized after that.
You sent it back to him. He was like speechless. He's like, that guy just dummied me.
I thought I was going to get fired. And then I walked back to the station. People are like, hey, good job. Good job. I'm like, wow, you can BS and get away with it on TV as long as you sound confident.
So
exactly.
Your first year when you ended up getting involved in sports or hockey, like who's there at the time? Mackenzie, I'm guessing? Or
are you talking about TSN wise?
Yes,
then?
yes. Or you predate him even there?
No, I think he was there definitely before me. When I got hired, I was actually working in Vancouver, and I got hired to host NBA and CFL. So that was my first job. I was your Chris Berman on CFL, and I did NBA, which nobody remembers. And the funny thing I remember about that was the executive producer back then said, we want to have a cool, fresh, hip, young look for NBA. So you're not going to wear a tie. You're going to wear a mock turtleneck. So I wore these mock turtlenecks under jackets. And instead of looking like young and hip, I looked about 90. And that was me hosting NBA. But it was cool. It was Vince Carter's rookie year with the Raptors. So I got to cover that slam dunk contest out in Oakland, which is still one of the coolest events I've ever covered. And then a few years later, I did Sports Center for a couple of years. And then we got the hockey rights back in 2003. And even that job, I didn't apply for it or anything, and they didn't hire me. They hired this young lady who I actually knew. She was the weather girl out in Vancouver when I worked there. And 2 days before the season, they just decided it wasn't going to work. She didn't really know that much about hockey. She wasn't comfortable. They weren't comfortable with her. And they called me the Sunday night before the season started. I think the season was starting on a Tuesday, and offered me the job. And that was, if you go back to those early tapes, that's when we had puppets doing jokes. We had live bands in the studio. We eventually had a monkey that spun a wheel. It was like a circus, that entire show. There was not your traditional desk with Bob McKenzie on it. It was really goofy TV, but I survived it somehow.
James, did you even get a break after the Stanley Cup was done, or was it straight into the World Junior stuff?
Like this year, you mean, in general?
Yeah. This past season.
I did. I mean, NRA, we weren't doing that much anyway. We didn't have the
Masters, right?
I did go to the Masters.
He snuck that one in there in the preparation for the World Juniors, RA.
Which was
what a warrior.
I don't know if you want to sidetrack on that. A Whit probably does, but
let's go into that later.
It was, it wasn't great without the patrons and sorry, I'm like Jim Nantz now. You're not supposed to say, you have to say patrons. You can't say fans.
Can't say rough.
You can't say gallery. There's all sorts of things you can't say. But from an actual selfish standpoint, one of the greatest experiences of my life, and certainly covering golf, because there was nobody there. On Thursday, I followed Tiger, and the gallery was me, my buddy Puffy, Peyton Manning, who was a member, and Tiger's girlfriend. That was the gallery for Tiger Woods.
Wow.
And you could, on Sunday, DJ was teeing off on 17, and I had to step back because my shadow was over his ball. So it was so surreal to get that close, because when you cover a Masters, and you've been, right, Whit?
Yeah, I have.
So you know how crowded it is, and you can't bring your cell phone, and there's no electronic scoreboard. So when you're me and you have to do an hour post-game show after, it's impossible to cover the Masters on the golf course unless one guy's up by 5 strokes or something, and then you can follow him. Yeah. I end up watching most of it on TV on Sunday because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so in this occasion, I could be out there on Sunday and follow DJ for basically his entire 18 holes and listen to the caddy conversation. So that was really amazing.
I'm sure you know this, Biz. I don't know if do you know who Gary McCord is?
No.
He's a golf announcer. He was in like Tin Cup. He was describing the scene when he's like going to hit the ball off the he's going to hit the flamingo or the pelican off the dock. Yeah. And he's like this golf announcer, and he still works in golf. I don't know if he does anymore, but he was announcing for CBS at Augusta, and they ended up gassing him. Boom, you're never allowed back. You'll never announce this golf tournament again, because he said the greens were faster than like a bikini wax or something about a bikini wax. Yeah, he mentioned
that little, and he got tossed.
Boom, Augusta National gas piped him. So it's very, in terms of, he was saying you got to say patron and stuff. It's so uptight with that. It's hilarious.
And by the way, they've never chastised me. I'm sure there's times that I've said galleries and such. So I don't think they watch me as closely as they watch Jim Nantz on CBS every week.
I think Whit had a text from his a buddy's old man or something that Larry David sent him about what he thought of his experience at the Masters, but we won't go into it. We mentioned how you're hopping around from all these things, and your motor is insane, and I don't know how you do it, but as far as experiences go, you just mentioned the Masters, and then doing it for hockey. What are some other things along the way that you've experienced that were just surreal and you never thought you'd find yourself there?
Well, pretty much everything I do, Biz. When we lost the national rights, which was, I guess, 6 years ago now, which at the time felt really devastating, right? TSN and hockey we'd done it for so long. And we still do a ton of hockey now. We just have regional rights for the Leafs and the Jets and the Sens and the Habs and all that. So we end up doing more hockey than we did before. But for me, it kind of allowed me to change the course of my career so I could do other sports, like do the Masters. I get to do the Super Bowl. I'm lucky enough to join the CFL for the playoffs and the Grey Cup. If you guys haven't done a Grey Cup, I'll take the Grey Cup over the Super Bowl any day. Super Bowl has your,
that's
your
a Canadian comment. That's a Canadian comment from a Canadian.
No, but I mean that. Here's the reason. Probably because I can't get into the Super Bowl party.
They got to change that kicking rule.
You think I can? You think I can, Duthie? RA'd sneak into a Super Bowl party. We could run the Grey Cup parties, though.
100%. You guys could own Grey Cup week, because it's the same people that love Chiclets and love the Grey Cup. But it's true though. Like there's such a corporate rich guy kind of feel to the Super Bowl parties, and the Grey Cup is just so Canadian. And I don't know. I just love Grey Cup week. It's super fun. And, I got to do the Raptors run in the NBA finals. So to answer your question, Biz, all those things, like I never thought I'd get to go to the Super Bowl. I never thought I'd get to go to the Masters. Pretty much everything I get to do is sensational.
And when was the first time you did an Olympics?
I was in 2006. So we were in Torino, but here's the funny deal with that. I think I was supposed to do 2002, and then we had a baby. And so I couldn't go to that, and stupid kids. So in 2006, CBC had the rights, and they didn't want myself and Gord Miller and Bob McKenzie. I guess the rights holders, I'll probably get this wrong, but they control who gets in the building. So basically, we were the competitors from TSN, CTV, and they didn't want us in the building. So we had no rights. So we had to buy scalpers tickets to go to the game. So Gord Miller had this scalper guy. His name was like Shaky or something, and he'd have cash and buy tickets. So and sometimes we could only get singles. So we'd sit in like different sections, and then we'd meet outside with the cameraman and do our commentary on the game.
You'd send your buddy Puffy to meet his buddy Shaky.
That's right.
To scalp the tickets.
And so I did Torino, but to answer your question, probably the best thing ever, 2010. Like I was a real Olympic geek when I was a kid. I loved the Olympics from 10 years old when it was in Montreal, and I got to host during the day in Vancouver, and then I'd go down and do the hockey games at night. And that whole situation, sorry to bring this up to RA and you, Whit, but
RA first.
I'm sorry.
RA gets the World Juniors there.
Pretty great moment, wasn't it, Biz? Iggy, Sid, the whole bit.
That whole experience being there, I feel like everybody took 3 weeks off work, and it was just a nonstop party. People said it was like the wildest Olympics ever.
That was probably the most insane couple of weeks of my life. Yeah. I slept nuts. 2 hours a night, but you're just on such a kick the whole time, and you're exhausted afterwards. I told a story in my last book, but I went and closed the closing ceremonies after. And then we got in a car. Some driver picked us up, Lisa LaFlamme, who's the main news anchor in Canada, and I, who hosted the closing ceremonies. And we got in the car, and I sort of went, holy crap, like what a crazy day. And we got 50 yards, and some drunk guy ran across the intersection, and the driver hit him. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'll get to it. So I thought we'd killed this guy. And the driver was this young girl, volunteer, and she was crying. And all of the paramedics were there. And in my head, selfishly, I'm going, oh, man, I'm going to miss the after party. This sucks so bad.
And get up.
Yeah. And then, so there was paramedics there. And I'm like, oh, my God, this guy's dead. And we're going to have to go to the police station and file a report. And then all of a sudden, he jumped up on his feet. And he ran by the window, and he was Irish, because I can't do an Irish accent. But he's like, sorry, bud, sorry, my fault. And he just goes running off. And the paramedics trying to chase him down. And he was down for about 5 minutes. So I made it to the after party. But that was probably the best experience of my career, that entire thing.
Nothing ever closed. My buddies came, and my brother, and they just ripped it up every single night. And then we were playing once every 5 days, it felt like. So I've said it many times. It was the craziest 2 weeks. It was the best experience of my life, even though we didn't get it done. When you start all right, so that 2010 Olympics, because it was in Canada, could you actually sense the pressure those guys felt? Because I've always thought it was nuts. I mean, it just felt like it was just a bomb ready to explode if they weren't going to get it done. They were such big favorites in Vancouver. And then when we beat them in that first game, I really do feel like there was just so much pressure built up for them. It was a weird time. I was so shocked they ended up winning it, because it was tough when they lost that first one to us.
I think you're bang on. And not to plug the book, but I wrote.
Oh, we'll get into that.
No, but I wanted to do a chapter about that, and I ended up doing Luongo and just his entire perspective of it. And Luongo's great, and he freely admits, when after that game, I think against you guys the first time, I think that's when they made the change. Brodeur had a bad game, and Babcock texts Louis on the bus and says, I want to see you at the front of the bus when we get off. And he says, you're my guy now. And Louis says he basically went white, wanted to puke, right? He's not one of these guys that was bravado confidence. He really felt all that pressure of being in Vancouver where he played, and he felt like he wanted to puke the entire tournament, except for the games. He settled in the games. But I think Canada felt that, because if you think about that, if you guys score an OT, and Pavelski had a really good chance, there was 2 or 3 really good chances. That Olympics, it was an incredible Olympics for Canada. We set a record for most gold medals by a host nation and all that. But if Canada loses that game on the last day, and this is no disrespect to all the other athletes, but it wouldn't have been the same. It would have felt like this massive letdown if they lose that game. It would have gone from this incredible moment in our history, in Canadian history, to but they lost to Whitney and the guys in hockey. So it would have sucked. The other thing was that closing ceremony was kind of it was this Australian guy did it, and it had all these Canadian stereotypes. There was a giant inflatable beaver, an inflatable moose flying around. It was the tackiest thing ever.
Syrup.
And if Canada had lost, everybody would have been so pissed off. They would have been chucking things at these guys. But because everybody was drunk, and they kind of pulled it off.
Party time.
Sorry, Whit. Sorry.
No. That was Crosby doing that. It was meant to be. It was like that. He was put on this earth to score that goal.
He really was.
Swear to God.
He was.
Well, James, we mentioned the book a couple times already. Beauties is the title once again. Grab it if you haven't read it yet. Congrats again on your 4th book. How do you decide what to write? What's that whole process entail?
I think it would be different RA for every single book. My first book was about a junior hockey coach, Brian Kilray, who's just a legend up here. I don't know if he's as well known in the States. He coached the Islanders briefly, but I've always felt like he was kind of Don Cherry without the pulpit. He's just an incredible, larger than life character. And when I was working in Ottawa in my early years, I covered him. So I wrote his book. The second book was kind of a cheesy book of columns. Easy book to write because I'd already written all the columns over 10 years. And then the third book was kind of a collection of all my stories from my career. And so Beauties, I don't know. I think sitting on that panel for 18 years, sitting next to guys not just like Bob McKenzie and Pooley and Odog, who I'm always beside, but, Biz was in there a couple of nights. Witt was in there. I probably had 50 different players, coaches like Torts and Lavi. And I realized maybe 5-6 years ago, I had this collection of stories that guys had told me that I needed to do something with. And so I started kind of writing them down in my phone memo folder. And I guess a year and a half ago or so, started deciding it would be a book. And so that was basically it. I guess for beauties, there's a million hockey books which are like biographies. So they have a few good stories in them, but you also have that, I grew up in South Boston and the whole childhood thing. And I just wanted to write a book, which is great stories, which is kind of, and I will say this, like what you guys do every week, as I was writing this, it's not to blow too much smoke towards you, but it was like confirmation that I was doing the right thing, because I think when I was first trying to make the deal with the publisher, it was when you guys sort of started to blow up. And as I listened to you guys and you got more and more successful, it was confirmed in my head what I thought I knew, is that hockey just has so many great stories. And so when I wrote this book, I wanted it to be just, when I called people, I said, as you guys know, because I badgered you for months, just tell me an awesome hockey story. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. Just tell me 57 different guys, tell me a great hockey story. And that's what it kind of ended up being. So it's, I guess, my best. I've said this in interviews before. It's like Spittin Chiclets, but with words on a page.
A few of my stories got rejected, though. I had to keep.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
My best ones probably can't be written in that book.
Hey, it's not going in Hustler, dude. It's not RA's subscription from when he was 13.
Well, I got you. I mean, I mentioned the porn star story, but only in a paragraph, I think, in your story.
Goodness.
I cleaned it up pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the problem, though. I don't know how many you guys. I don't know how many stories in the book, because you've had, I'm sure, a lot of the people that are in the book on the pod are, that they've already told on Spittin Chiclets. I'd have to do a cross-reference at some point. There's a few for sure.
Yeah. How do you decide where the line is? Because obviously some of these stories are, let's say, colorful that, maybe you tell on this show, but you might not want a family-friendly print edition. Yeah. So how do you figure that out, James?
Well, I think with most guys know that it's a book. So when I talk to them, I say, guys, this is going to be in print forever. You know what? Your grandkids are going to be able to pick this up somewhere in some obscure library. So I think most guys, there were a few that people would call me back and say, hey, could you take out, this line or this thing? But for the most part, you weren't getting the, bunch of guys at the Ripper joint stories. It was more, just most of the stuff I think you could tell on Spittin Chiclets. I'd clean up the language here and there. There's language in the book, but I kind of wanted all ages to be able to read it too. So when I interview somebody like a guy like Biz sometimes, or I'm trying to think of somebody like Kelly Chase probably dropped 2 F-bombs per sentence in our interviews. And so I had to cut it down to 1 per paragraph or something.
To make us sound somewhat articulate. What were a few that you took away from the book being like, this is going to make some noise? I know there was one about John Cooper. I think I talked to you about on the phone before we talked on here.
Has Cooper been on your pod and told that story? Do you know?
No, we're trying to drag him on. RA was partying with him at the cup party the other night.
Yeah, I was trying to recruit
Coop is great, by the way. And when for most of these guys, I didn't know the story beforehand. I just called people and said, tell me your story. Or they text me and say, okay, I got one for you. And then call me back. And Coop's story, without giving away all the details, Cooper's story involves Dustin Tokarski. When Cooper is coaching Syracuse, Dustin Tokarski gets carjacked at knife point. There's a high-speed police chase. They spend the entire day at the police station. They race to a game in bingo. They get there late, basically run across the highway to get to the game. They go down. Tokarski's got PTSD, so he just says, sit in the dressing room in your civvies. They fall behind 5-0 to Binghamton. That was a good Binghamton team that had, Hoffman and Robin Leonard and all those guys. So they start a brawl down 5-0 late in the second. There's a goalie fight between Leonard and Rico Helenius. They both get kicked out. So the trainer has to go back and get Tokarski to dress. Tokarski comes in. They score 6 straight and win 6-5 in overtime. And so Cooper finished telling me that story. And I said, okay, we got a carjacking, a car chase, a goalie fight, a
PTSD.
brawl, and a ridiculous once in a lifetime
Tarantino
comeback.
movie at this point.
Yeah, I finished and I said, okay, that's the exact reason I wrote this book, right? And it was the same with Whit, talking about sitting on the bathroom in the back of the private jet, which is just
I told that
when you guys, you guys both sent me voice memos, which was really cool.
Well, it's so much easier,
I was
right?
laughing my ass. Oh, but I just laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
Sid actually sent me voice memos too. It's hard to get guys, first of all, who are as busy as you guys are on the podcast, but guys like Sid in the middle of a playoff race. And so Sid would send me voice memos every couple of weeks. And he sent me 4 or 5, and they were all great stories. As I know, you guys know him well. He's underrated, I think, as a storyteller. And so every couple of weeks I get a voice memo, hey, it's James, it's Sid. So this one time, me and Colby Armstrong and it went on and on like that.
That's unreal.
Which
Imagine
one
what
do
you
you
can
get
sell those for? Hey, if everything goes to shit, you can just sell those things. You'll be back in the penthouse.
Sid voice memos on Amazon.com.
What was the
Cooper
story
too?
that you used?
Cooper was a blessing because at the end of the interview, I'd always ask, and I probably asked you guys, I said, is there anybody I should talk to? I don't care if they're a big name, but tell me a great character, great storyteller that I should talk to. And Cooper sent me to Eric Nielsen, who was Sid's roommate in Rimouski. And that ended up being the first chapter of the book because he talked about why he only calls him Daryl. And Nielsen was a wingnut, by the way. And there's a bunch of stories in there that are just cuckoo. I don't know how Sid survived without getting in trouble. But that's kind of the way the book worked, right? Somebody would tell me about somebody would tell me about somebody else. And in the end, suddenly have a book of great stories.
James, how long is the process from soup to nuts, from when you first have the idea to when the actual book comes out on this particular one?
Well, in this case, probably 5-6 years, the idea. I have a tendency, RA, to be lazy, and I let something fester in my head for years and say, do I really want to do the work? And then suddenly I need money. Like my wife comes home with a Louis Vuitton purse or something, and I'm like, crap. I got to write another book.
Sid, call me with another story. You got to get this paid for.
As long as you're not doing couples photos.
Shit. He's like, what, do you have a vodka connection?
Well, that and your schedule probably fills up quick with how much you're having to do now and what it's hard to say no to. How did you develop that motor where you have to be on all the time?
It's a bit of a mirage. If Jay Onright and Dan O'Toole, who host SportsCenter up here, were listening to this, they would laugh because they always say I never work. Because I think people see me, Biz. They see me on SportsCenter. We'll do a hit after the game. It runs for 24 hours the next day, and they think you're always working. And that's not really the case. My schedule gets intense at times, like the World Juniors or the Masters or whatever, but then I'll have gaps. And with this case, with COVID, it really helped me in the last couple of months finishing off the book. To really answer RA's question, it's probably like a year and a half. I think I signed the deal. I think about it for a few months. That I start making the phone calls and slowly getting everybody together. And the writing process, maybe, 4, 5, 6 months here and there. It takes 4 months to get a hold of Biz. So that's 4 months in itself.
I'm bad.
No, Biz. Hey, Duthie, Biz and I texted him and he texted me, must have been 2 times each. And I was like, dude, have you sent Duthie a story yet? He's like, no, fuck. I'm like, neither have I. I would go to do it. Something would come up. Gurnelli knows what I think I'm talking about right now. But finally, I was like, all right, I got to sit down and actually do this.
Well, the reason I was bugging Biz so bad, and I hate bugging people. It really, every time I sit down to make that text, guys, honestly, I cringe because I hate doing it. But it was so funny. In this book, Bobby Orr was the first email I sent. The very first day I said, I got to start writing this book. I send an email to Bobby Orr, and I don't pretend to have, I've interviewed him a lot. Certainly he knows me, but I don't pretend to be tight or anything with Bobby Orr. So I think, maybe he'll get back to me or his people will get back to me. So that's 10:30 at night. 8 a.m. the next day, I get this call from an unknown number, and I pick up the phone, and it's like, hey, James, it's Bobby Orr. Are you ready to hear my story? And I write this in the book. I freaked out. I panicked. Because I didn't even know how to tape phone calls back then. So the only thing I could think of on the spot was I'd get my wife's phone and I'd put my phone on speaker and I'd use the voice memo thing and I'd record my wife's phone. So I ran in and my wife is ordering something online and she's on the phone with the sales girl. And I'm like, honey, it's Bobby freaking Orr. I need your phone. And she's like, yeah. So do you have extra small in that in a blue? I'm like, honey, it's Bobby freaking Orr. I need your phone. So this goes on for about 6 minutes. I finally grab the phone from her and Bobby tells me the story. But the point of that is ditto Gretzky. Like I text Gretz, hey, do you think you could have a story that you haven't told in your book? 10 minutes later, he calls me. So I was bugging Biz. I said, I got Bobby Orr in one night. I got Gretz in 15 minutes, 4 months.
I'll never live this down. Well, and also we had to shuffle through ones that I could tell in your book. Which
Bobby and Gretzky have never done an ad read.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, how many swipe ups have they done?
We got to talk about World Juniors. I mean, we don't we don't dive too much into it, but this year, because there's no hockey being played, we are going to. Canada's got to be the favorite in this one.
They are. I got to tell you guys a quick COVID story. So we're going into this bubble. We got to sit in our room for 4 days when we get to Edmonton. I leave on Saturday, and we have to do 3 COVID tests. So the guy comes to our house to administer the COVID test to me, and then he puts it in a little, goes up my nose, and he puts it in a little plastic bag and says, put it in the fridge, and a separate guy is going to come pick it up in the truck or whatever. So I say, no problem. I put it in the fridge, and my daughter's home, and I said, I'm going to go downstairs to hit some golf balls. Whit's proud of me. I got the little simulator going downstairs, and just call me when this guy comes, or just get it out of the fridge. So I come upstairs an hour later, and I go, did he come? And she goes, yeah. I said, oh, did you give it to him? She goes, yeah, I got it out of the freezer. And I go, the freezer? I said it was in the fridge. So I run to the fridge, and the thing is still in there. I said, so what did you give this dude? And she goes, I don't know. It was a little plastic thing with a vial in it. And I'm going, what the hell? So now I gotta call this lab and say, sorry, but my daughter gave you the wrong thing. They didn't give you my COVID test. So they call me back and they go, okay, yeah, we have this envelope. It says Legally Veterinary Clinic on it. She gave him, I guess my dog was having these eye problems, and they were injecting some blood serum into his eye. And so that's what she gave the COVID guy. So I tested like negative for COVID, but positive for dog.
Rabies.
Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty.
He's not as dirty as us, all right.
No, it's not. It would have been. I'm sure there've been better punchlines for that, but yeah, it's coming. I'm always pumped. You're right. Canada is loaded, but that does, like, every forward is a first round pick. It's ludicrous because of this weird circumstance we're in with the pandemic and almost everybody being available except for Lafreniere. But look, the Americans are going to be good. The Russians are going to be good. So I always think you just never know how these kids are going to react to a situation. Something goes wrong in a semifinal game, and suddenly you're down 2 goals. I don't think you ever know how teams are going to react. And that's what makes the World Juniors great. I've always said the reason it's the best hockey of the year is because there's tons of mistakes, and they're 18 and 19 and sometimes 17 and 16 years old, and they screw up, and 4-1 games can go back the other way and be 5-4 in a heartbeat. And so that's what makes it great.
James, Canada's the big chalk, minus 130, roughly, depending on what site you go on. But do you think any Cinderella plays are worth jumping on? I see some 50-1s out there, 55-1s. I mean, worth taking a flyer on, perhaps?
What do we got? Germany?
What countries is that?
Let's Switzerland 50-1, Slovakia 55, Germany 75, even Finland 7-1 is,
Trinidad and Tobago from fucking
Finland's always in the mix.
Finland, Finland isn't supposed to be as good this year, although Anton Lundell there might be one of the best players in the tournament. And that whole pesky Finn cliche is true for a reason, right? Like they're not an underdog anymore, though. They used to be kind of the fifth wheel at this tournament. Every year, it was funny. Every year I could do radio interviews before the World Juniors, and they'd say, who are the favorites? Without even looking at the rosters, you go Canada, Russia, USA, Sweden, good night. And it's, basically there'd be little 10% differences between those teams. But Finland has won 2 gold medals in the last 5-6 years. The Finns are a powerhouse now.
Yeah, they are.
I think, RA, on the betting, you're better off to take, like, Switzerland is always good for at least near upset in the tournament. But overall upsets, like favorites to win, it just never happens, right?
Right.
Germany will upset somebody or take somebody to overtime. Switzerland will give beat Russia in overtime or something in the round robin play. But once it gets to the medal round, it usually never happens. Slovakia creeps into the bronze medal game once every few years, but for the most part, it's going to be one of those 5 or 2 of those 5 in the gold medal game, right?
What about the Czechs? Actually, I forgot them at 20-1.
Okay, I'm going to be forthright here. Bobby Mack and Craig Button do the hardcore research. When I'm locked in my room for 4 days, I will be studying the Czech roster. But I would be lying to you if I knew any depth right now of the Czech. And there's nothing I hate more than guys that BS and go on and say, yeah, well, they got some, they got depth there in the first couple of lines, RA. And
that's what we do.
Yeah, copy guys like you.
I'm surprised you came on our show.
Oh, geez, okay. I have to hear what you think of us.
I have faked my way through many a relegation game at the World Juniors, where when I don't know anything, I just go, Bob, the Czechs, your thoughts?
You mentioned the pressure that they faced in 2010 in Vancouver. I don't know if Americans listening can understand the pressure that these Canadian kids go through for World Juniors, and they're not being paid.
No, they're not. But when people, I know you're not one of those, Biz. There are people that don't like the World Juniors because of that. Hey, did we put too much pressure on these kids? It's funny. Whenever Canada wins, the nation celebrates and goes crazy. Whenever Canada loses, you get a few people on social going, they put way too much pressure on these kids. And my comeback to that is always every single kid in Canada wants to be on that team who plays at that level. They all want that pressure. They want to be on the World Juniors because it's such a grand stage, because TSN makes a huge deal out of it every year. That's what they want. And so they love that pressure. And if they lose, there's a few jerks that take it too far, probably in the criticism. And I don't believe, and I think when we cover it differently than the NHL, because when Canada loses, yes, it's fair to say they didn't perform well or they underperformed. You can criticize, but I think at the back of your mind, when Bob and I or Craig Button or Gord Miller, Ray Ferraro were talking, that we're always keeping in mind that they are kids, and you're not going to rip somebody and destroy them, the way that, somebody might for a 10-year NHL vet because of what happened in one tournament. And as far as the pressure, is it going to be less this year with no fans? Probably, right? I think it's an amazing boost when you have 18,000 screaming in red and white, but I think maybe it takes a little bit of the heat off when nobody's there for all the teams, right?
No doubt. What's your favorite aspect of covering the tourney, James?
Just the hockey, RA in the end. First of all, we don't get out. We're locked in the studio a lot during the year, and there's nothing like being at live events. And when it's in North America, Bob and I are there, and it won't be as great, obviously, this year because there are no fans there. But anywhere in the Canada or the States, like Buffalo was awesome. That outdoor game in Buffalo was fantastic between Canada and the U.S. a few years ago. It's just the atmosphere is different than anything else. It's different than even a Stanley Cup final. And I always say, Canada, we wave this flag as this big hockey nation, but it's all BS. We're 7 different hockey nations that all kind of hate each other, right? Everybody hates the Leafs who's not a Leaf fan. Canucks fans, Sens fans, Flames fans, Jet fans, they all hate the Leafs. Oilers hate the Flames and the Jets and so on and so forth. And this is kind of the 2 weeks where all Canadian fans are kind of the same. I know that sounds hokey.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I never thought about it.
They all get into it. They're so crazy during those 2 weeks. They're singing, and people are half blitzed at the games. It's an awesome experience.
It ends up being such a great party at the end of that tournament for teams too. I remember playing. You had the night after the last game, and everyone had 6 a.m. flights. I'm sure you do the same thing when you're in Europe. You're quickly out of there. So that last night, everyone just goes crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. The kids, sometimes it's just like a bus ride and they're gone, right?
Yeah.
It's a celebration of
exactly.
like a few hours or whatever. So yeah, it's my favorite 2 events of the year are the World Juniors and the Masters for 2 different reasons. The World Juniors, just because it's, like I said, the best hockey that you see all year. And there's so much passion for all of the players, all the countries. And by the way, I'm a proud Canadian, but I'm one who likes it when the other countries win. Like the last 8 years or so has been great because everybody's won. And when Canada wins 5 golds in a row like they did in that stretch to 2009. It was great for Canadians, but it's not great for the tournament.
No, it's not.
It's great when Finland wins and the U.S. knocks a couple of golds and Russia wins a couple of golds. I think that's fantastic for the tournament. So, call me a homer, but I like it when everybody wins.
What's the typical workday during this, James? Like 16-hour days, 14-hour days? How long are the work days here?
Yeah, juniors will be long but there's dick all to do, all right? Like we literally, in this bubble, where there is nowhere to go. We have the hotel in Edmonton and the booth where Bob and I will sit for the whole time. So there's literally nothing else to do. So we'll get to the rink. If Ferraro ever listens to this, he'll laugh because him and Gord end up doing almost every game, and Bob and I take games off, and he always makes fun. Oh, those intermissions that you do are really grueling. The 2.5-minute chat that you guys do while we're calling every single game. But I kind of ride Bob's coattails. Bob's at that sort of semi-retirement age. So Bob always takes a schedule. He's like the Godfather. The whole Bobfather thing is true. So he grabs, they give the World Junior sched, and Bob goes, okay, James and I will do that game. Austria, Germany, not doing that game, that game. And so I just sit back and ride Bob's coattails. But we're pretty much at the rink. We'll do 2 games a day. Some of the days we'll do 3 games. But it's great. There's nothing else to do anyway.
One story I forgot to ask you that was in the book, Ray Emery, his comeback story. And I know you were pretty close with him.
I don't pretend to be close to him, Biz, but I worked in Ottawa and was covering the Sens, and I really respected the guy always. And I always thought he got a bit of a bad rap. He was one of the first guys who wore the flashy suits to games and things. And he definitely made
Hummer. He had the white Hummer.
He made some mistakes, but at his heart, he was a good guy. And most guys who know him will say that, right? The hockey players who know him best. And
they love him.
When Ray passed, it really bothered me that every story was about troubled NHL goalie Ray Emery dies in mysterious fashion, and it had this sort of cloud about it. And I say in the book, if you Google Ray Emery's name, every single story is about the way he died. And Matty Nickel, who you guys know, the greatest trainer out there and a good buddy, I knew that he had helped Ray get back from that injury. And a lot of people in hockey had already said, and I'm sure I'm saying something you guys all know, that injury is one of the greatest sort of unreported comebacks ever. And so I wanted Matt to tell that story. And basically, Ray could have been, I know people exaggerate these things sometimes, but Ray could have easily been paralyzed. This was a surgery that had only been done on one guy. And he was going to there was no way he was going to play in the NHL again. It was almost impossible, but he wanted to. And so he told Matt, you're going to bring me back to the NHL. And Matt said, buddy, if I get you jogging again, it would be a massive success. And Ray said, no, I'm going to play in the NHL again. And so the story is more about these 2 guys. And Ray didn't talk to Matt for like a month. Matt thought, who is this guy? Like, he won't say anything. He'll do all the workouts, but he's not talking to me. He hates me. He's going to fire me.
Oh.
But as soon as he let him in, they became like incredible friends. And Matt will now say he's the most generous hockey player he's ever met. So I just wanted to tell a different side of Ray Emery that people maybe didn't know, because that comeback to win the Jennings Trophy in the Stanley Cup in Chicago with Crawford and go 19-1 with a 1.4 goals against and like a 960 save percentage or whatever it was that year, from where he was at, with the possibility of not walking again, I just think is one of the most remarkable comebacks in hockey history.
That's a great story. I'm excited to read the book. How many total stories are there in there?
57 is what we say. I got the Ryan Whitney chapter. I got to look it up for you guys.
Why didn't you sign mine?
Did I not? Oh, I did sign yours, didn't I?
I don't think you did, bud. I don't think you did.
Oh, you know what happened?
I think you shriveled me.
No, I didn't. The books came out, and the editor, the publisher guys love you guys, by the way. HarperCollins, they have big fans. And so they wanted to send books to you guys right away. So before I even had the books, they sent books to you guys. So I promise I will send. Do you know how weird it is, though, for me to send like autographed copies to guys like you?
Yeah, but it's just more like it's so classy. If you have an autograph, you get a legit book and it's autographed by the author. But
I'm some dinky cable sportscaster from Canada.
Hey, I'm a peasant. I'm a peasant too. I know.
You know how weird it is writing to Sid. Best wishes.
Keep your head up.
James Duthie. Dear to Wayne, all the best. Say no to drugs. Keep dreaming large. You know, it just felt so dumb signing my autograph on books to all these legends, but I apologize for that. You guys will get autographed copies, I promise.
That's awesome. Well, good luck with World Juniors. I didn't have any.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to go down a different path than World Juniors, so you can.
I was going to mention the chapters for the Spittin Chiclets fans out there, just so they can go right to it.
I'm sure they can.
Biz Nasty's Last Dance is chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chapter 6 in the book. And Wit.
One of my old numbers.
Bugsy.
I'm 57.
And the Overbooked PJ, I think it's called. I'm trying to find it. Is like Overbooked PJ. That's like page 135. They didn't number the chapters here.
So Bugsy's involved in the story with Wit, or he has his own chapter?
I think.
But Wit told 2 stories.
Yes, that's what.
And we made I'm not trying to promote a podcast on your podcast, but they ask you to do an audiobook, right? And I felt stupid just reading my book, like I'm Donald Sutherland or something.
Why Obama did it?
Yeah, that's a little different. Paul Bissonnette was a fine young man when he joined the Coyote. It didn't sound right. So I have this great producer. My version of Mike is this guy named Stoff, and he's an awesome producer. He does my podcast, the Rubber Boots podcast. And so we decided to do it like an audiobook on steroids, where we'd take the chapters, but you'd hear you guys telling the story. And he'd put in all the radio doc kind of sound effects, and they're really cool. We did Wits already. We're going to get to Biz's in January, but it's kind of an audio book.
Yeah, of 2022. Am I expected to read
did you
it
say
back?
that did you put my voice memo to you on the pod?
Yeah. Did I get permission for that?
No, I don't care. But did you take out shit I might have said that was bad?
Yeah, I made you look great, but I think I sent it to you. You just didn't listen to it.
I don't listen to fucking anything, Duffy. I don't listen to anything. I
literally sent you the finished version of the podcast. But anyway, your stories were great, guys, and I'm not blowing smoke. But when I sat down, I said both these guys have to be in the book because they're exactly what the book's all about.
We appreciate that. Different route here. How's the golf game? You mentioned the Masters, and there was I think they did something similar to the Sandbaggers, Biz. Yep. What was the deal? It was you and Dubas played. I'm gonna butcher it. What was the match?
So
Odog was involved.
Yeah. So my sort of business partner is as Biz likes to call Jeff, is a guy named another Jeff Dykeman up here, who also represents Jerry D. And he's good buddies with Kyle Dubas. Jerry D's the comedian. People in the States should listen to watch Mr. D, which I think is now available in the States. Great show.
We just had him on.
Yeah, he's awesome. So basically, he wanted to put together this big charity match for a lot of money, and it ended up being Dubas and Jerry D against me and Odog, Jeff O'Neill. And it was an incredible tragedy where I was on fire. I'm very streaky. I'm probably kind of like Biz. And O is kind of like Wit. I would say O is not as good as you, Wit, but he's a really good player. And Jerry D's really good, and Kyle's got a good swing, but obviously, doesn't have a chance to play as much because he's a GM. And so I was on fire for the first, front 9 basically, and made some birdies, and we were up by 5 strokes. And then I completely crumbled down the stretch, and O has never forgiven me. And it's all captured on video. It's horrific.
Wedge game? Was it your wedge game?
Oh, I was chunking wedges because you guys might be
Wouldn't
better.
know the feeling.
I could do TV in front of 10 million people, but they closed down the course. There was like 4 cameras, and you had 2 mic things on. And when I start to go south, I go south in a hurry, and I started to question everything about my game, and I'm a mental midget, and it was just awful.
Oh, still, that's great content right there. You get more into that. Speaking of O-Dog, he's always dogged us, so he's not allowed to come on. Too bad now you are, O-Dog. Look at the TSN, the absolute, the number one man at TSN's on with us now, O-Dog. Come on down.
When you guys were talking about stories that could or couldn't go in the book, I had a book of stories from him that couldn't go in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
90% of them with Paul Maurice involved.
I think that's why he doesn't want to come on your podcast, because he doesn't trust himself to edit himself.
We'll edit
but he is He's very much like you two in that he is incredibly self-deprecating. He's a hilarious guy. And
and
so
a great storyteller
he would
as well.
be great. And he's a great storyteller. That's the one thing. And I think I'm surrounded by, Jamie McLennan, Dave Poulin, Mike Johnson. These guys are awesome storytellers. And so that's what makes it so easy to do a book like that.
James, I think you're downplaying maybe your creativity too much. You got a real creative itch you like to scratch. You are behind the Puck Over Glass song. The Panel Hangover video was a huge hit. You were great acting, by the way. You had an appearance in Goon. Is that something you kind of want to do maybe a little more of as you get older, or is it, were those just kind of fun side projects?
I had a bunch of real idiot friends, RA, growing up, like real idiots. You guys would have loved them all. Just did ridiculously stupid things. Every Friday night out was, not about getting girls. It was about pulling the stupidest prank. And I was probably the least funny of all those guys. And so I grew up in that. And I think I always wanted to do idiot stuff. And when I joined TSN, eventually they let me do stupid stuff. I did a bunch of things with Luongo that were really dumb. And the Puck Over Glass, I always wanted to be a musician, I think, secretly. My dad was a great musician, and I never had the talent to actually write music, but I could come up with tunes. And so we did that Puck Over Glass video, and we did another one called Don't Take My Goal Away, which was a boy band. We did a parody of like an NSYNC video, and it was O-Dog and myself and Noodles, and Bob McKenzie does a rap.
No.
Gino Retta makes an appearance. Hey, you guys got to YouTube that one. It's called Don't Take My Goal Away. And I have another brilliant friend, Lester McLean, who's on my pod, and he's a brilliant musician who works at TSN. So basically, I will call him, and I'll have like the tune in my head. I'll write the lyrics, and I'll say, Lester, you got to put this to music. And it'll be like Puck Over Glass. I can't remember how does that go. Like, I work so hard to make it to the league, and Puck Over Glass. Hey ref, kiss my ass. So, and I'll just sing the tune to him, and then he'll put it to music. And that's the one thing I'm really like. I have amazing people at TSN, but they've always let me do stupid stuff like that. And that's one of my favorite things about working at this network is I can be serious on the panel with Bob or at the Masters, but they'll let me do idiotic things. And I think I enjoy that as much as anything else.
SoundCloud rapper next. That's what all the young kids are doing. Are you on TikTok, James? You doing the TikTok stuff?
It's so funny you say that. My daughter did a little TikTok video last night that she put me in, and she was all excited today because it went, I guess viral on TikTok. It had like 200,000 views, and so she's all pumped up because I got her all these followers on TikTok, and now I got all these creepy guys.
Yeah, you're like, oh great, honey.
Yeah. A bunch of guys wrote. Because she's in the video for a second too, and a bunch of guys wrote, "Hey, there's Duthie, my future father-in-law."
Oh my goodness!
And that was the clean.
That's getting deleted.
Those were the clean ones.
We're not using that. We even have a limit here. What else?
Can I tell my favorite Biz NHL on TSN appearance story?
Oh my god, that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. I didn't understand how much work was involved, and then like once you're on, and I was hungover every single day.
Let him tell the story.
You don't have to apologize, Biz.
All
like
right.
you were awesome, and I'll say this sincerely. I sound like I've been blowing way too much smoke this show, but when Whit, and I told him this, Whit came in, you guys came in for only like 2 days each. We used to have guest appearances during the playoffs. And when Whit came in and left, I said, like, that guy, I didn't know it was going to be Spittin Chiclets and everything, but I said, that guy's going to be like an awesome analyst. If he wanted to be a straight analyst, you would have been awesome at it, Whit. And I know you do some of that on NHL Network.
Thank you.
And Biz, your personality was just like, you were just blowing up at the time, right? It was just starting to blow up. But
that
Biz,
was 1.0.
Right. So I think we were doing a Nashville-Vancouver playoff game, or we were commenting on a Nashville-Vancouver playoff game during the intermission. And it was one of Biz's first intermissions. And, this was at the height of single Biz, just starting to ride fame. And Nashville was ahead of Vancouver. It was an elimination game in Vancouver, and Nashville was up by a goal or something going to the third period. And we were doing our serious panel. And I said to Biz, what do you think the Canucks are thinking about the prospects of going back to Nashville? And Biz said quite seriously, oh, they got to love that. Nashville is awesome. The bars there are amazing. I said, no, Biz. I meant the prospect of losing the game and having, they don't want to go back there for that.
I was like, oh man, I got like 6 of them in there. 6 there last year. We spent 3 days. Actually, I might have had 7. Yeah, I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be
what a city.
Point night off the ice. Fucking, they're laughing, baby. Let's go Canucks.
Oh my god,
that was awesome.
Oh, whoopsie daisy. That was. I think we had Carrie Fraser was there as well at the same time.
Yeah, Carrie Fraser butchered a story when he came on your podcast.
Yeah, what was the story?
Well, he got me in trouble too because I had one of our PR people call and say, "Hey, just so you know, Carrie Fraser told a rather controversial story on Spittin Chiclets about you guys all watching porn." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So, what happened was Biz and Carrie Fraser was like our referee analyst during the round. Terrific guy, as you guys know, and Biz at one point, I think Biz had gotten a video from a lady that was
probably from the
graphic. That was graphic, and it involved some sort of device or something. And he was showing the video to Carrie Fraser, and Carrie said, "That looks just like my brush, my hair brush." And so Bob and I thought this was the funniest thing in the history of the world, because Carrie's just like this incredibly innocent, wonderful guy.
Yeah,
right?
Biz like, yo, look at this pussy, dude.
And Carrie ended up getting a Sharpie and signing the brush to Biz from your buddy Carrie Fraser. And Bob and I just thought that was the greatest thing in the history of the world, that Carrie Fraser gave Biz a brush because of some semi-porn video that he'd seen.
I got a little TikTok of my own there. Before TikToks were
you the night that I came on, was it Gino Retta that was on, or would you not have been on with him?
I was on with you for sure. I can't remember who was on the.
Yeah, Gino gave me shit. He gave me shit. It was the biggest bunch of bullshit. I said something and we went to commercial. I don't remember exactly what he said. He's like, "Oh yeah, you spoke too quick there. Let the question."
Sure it wasn't me?
No, it wasn't you. And I remember thinking like, "Oh man, it was the first time." And then Mackenzie's like, no, you were good. Don't worry about it.
I think that you probably did that talkie. They milk you guys when you're there. So you probably did Gino's show and then came down and did the panel.
Do the guillotine. No. You just go through the line of all the shows.
That's right.
Going off the record.
That was my favorite time though. We don't do that really anymore with our regional games, but I loved in the playoffs. We'd always have current players in, and some guys struggled. Some guys were just awesome right away. I would say the best, Marty Biron, when he first came in, like the first day, I'm like, this guy's going to be awesome, even though he's gotten more. His French accent has just gotten stronger and stronger over the years. I don't know. The guy lives in Buffalo, and his accent just gets stronger every year, French. It makes no sense whatsoever. Mike Johnson, same thing. He came in when he was playing with Phoenix. He was awesome, and you could tell. And Witt was awesome from the beginning. And then there's other guys like Colby Armstrong. I can remember he really struggled his first night because he was the same as you, Biz. Like it's tough. People don't realize you guys are hockey players. You've never done TV before, and we're asking you, okay, speak to the camera, speak in 20 seconds.
Put somewhat of a filter on. Somewhat of a filter on. That's the biggest thing. So I got to run it through 2 of them.
The red light. Red light turns on.
First night Torts was on. When Torts joined us, we had a pool about when he would swear. And I think I had the lowest on the under. I had 18 minutes and I lost. He was 14 minutes. He swore. And Torts, he only dropped like an S-bomb. He just said, he was mad about somebody, Sean Avery or something. Or just some player he was unhappy with. And he just said shit. And we went to commercial break and I said, Torts, it's TSN. You can't swear. And Torts says, I didn't swear. And I said, yeah, you swore. We had to show him the tape and that's the thing about Torts. People think he's fake or he's putting on a show. He gets so passionate that he loses his mind and then he doesn't know what he's saying.
Crutch words.
Yeah, he didn't know that he swore. But anyway, it's hard to come in there the first time with all the studio lights and people barking things at you. And I can remember Colby was such a nice guy. And Colby's like, guys, what do I say? What do I say? And we'd say, okay, well, Colby, why don't you talk about the power play and say, the Penguins really worked it around well. And, they used Malkin at the point. And he'd say, okay. And he'd come on, he'd say exactly what we told him. Yeah, the Penguins power play really worked well. They used Malkin. And now Colby's become like this awesome analyst for Sportsnet, right? So you come in for 2 days. It's really, it's hard to do. But you give guys a little bit of time, and it's not rocket science, right? You could learn it. It just takes a little few reps.
Army's one of the funniest, like, best guys I've ever met.
The best.
And he came on the show. So we got to play in the minors together. And, you know, he was traded the year before I was. We both went through the same thing. And I ended up getting him on this podcast real early before Bez, when it was just me and RA, right? Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's not at me. Sorry. He was such a big hit, right? Everyone loved him. Like, since then, they've been asking for him to come back on. I ask him, and he won't, because he has the worst anxiety. He gets so nervous that he's going to say something, like, and even before shows, he'll still get nervous. He was like that before games, and he's such a funny guy the way he goes about it. And talk about self-deprecating, but he's the man. So there's a big podcast. I wish I thought of the name of it right now. I'll know it. I want to say Saskatchewan, and They said they're buddies with Army, and they've been asking me to come on. I said, if Army comes back on Chiclets, I'll go on your show. So Army said no right away. So now the pressure's really on him. But you mentioned him, and I always have people ask me, you got to get him back on. Well, now the ball's in his court.
He was so good in the book. And again, I always hesitate to start telling stories on this pod because you guys have probably heard them all. But his story about wrestling with Sid, and he ends up kneeing Sid in the balls. Do you know that story?
Yep.
Well, that's one of the ones in the book, is when they were, I think Army just got called up and he's rooming with Sid, and they were like goofing around wrestling in the hotel room. And he kind of ran across the room and tried to do like a dive off the top rope off the bed. And he kneed Sid in the balls, and Sid, he got swole, real swole, as the kids say. Yeah. And they had to go to the trainer because he didn't think he was going to play. And Army talks about it. He's so funny. He's like, I was just praying, Army was worried that he killed Sid. And you're right. He's just one of the best.
Hopefully we'll get him back.
We appreciate you coming on. It's been fun catching up and hearing about your career, your life, and what you do. So look forward to listening to you I won't be able to see the Canadian broadcast during the World Juniors, but still,
I'll try to get your
login. Your TSN login.
I'll get you the top secret James and Bob only link if you want, so you can watch the Canadian bias broadcast, particularly for the Canada-USA game.
Bring it on.
All right. I'm in.
I'll tweet it out to all our followers. I got you guys.
Well, have fun, James. I'm sure you'll do great. And once again, the book is called Beauties, Hockey's Greatest Untold Stories, available wherever fine books are sold. So by all means, check it out. James, it was a pleasure and a blast. Thanks so much for joining us, brother.
No, it was my pleasure, guys. I'm huge fans of the pod, and thanks again for Beauties probably happened because Spittin Chiclets is so successful. So don't sue me, okay?
Wow, well, that's quite an honor. Thank you so much.
I'll collect some royalties.
All right, see you, boys.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch to James Duthie for jumping on with us. That was some good stuff, man. The guy certainly knows his World Juniors and as well as the rest of the league, but just a joy to talk to. So hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it. So listen, folks, this time of year, everybody wants to keep their home and their family safe, whether it's from a break-in, a fire, flooding, or a medical emergency. Simply Safe Home Security delivers award-winning 24/7 protection. With Simply Safe, you don't just get an arsenal of cameras and sensors, you get the best professional monitors in the business. They've got your back day and night, ready to send police, fire, or EMTs when you need them the most, straight to your door. My favorite thing is how even a simpleton with tools like myself can easily set it up. That's how easy it is. Simply Safe has an arsenal of sensors and cameras that protect every inch of your home. You can set it up for yourself in about 30 minutes. Super easy. And then Simply Safe's professionals take over, monitoring your home 24/7 and ready to send help the moment there's an alarm. Plus, with Simply Safe, there's no long-term contract, no hidden fees or installation costs. Right now, our listeners get a free home security camera when you purchase a Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/chiclets. That's SIMPLISAFE, and that's Chiclets, CHICLETS. You also get a 60-day risk-free trial, so there's nothing to lose. Visit simplysafe.com/chiclets for your free security camera today. That's simplysafe.com/chiclets. Keep the homestead safe. What do you got, Biz?
All right. You know who needs a Simply Safe is Walter Gretzky. What the heck? What's going on here? This is like small town crime.
That was like, I thought that would have been hanging offense in Canada. In case you hadn't heard, Walter Gretzky, the old man of Wayne Gretzky, obviously, someone broke into their house and stole over $500,000 worth of memorabilia and sold it on the internet. They actually did it back in August, but they had to track all the items down. And it was actually, well, I hesitate to use the word friend because a friend wouldn't do that to someone, but I guess a former friend of the family and a senior Ontario provincial police officer were charged. I guess they were.
The police officer was involved?
Yeah.
Just absolute travesty.
Walter
Gretzky?
This wasn't like they broke into some nerd's
rules.
basement and like, oh, look at this guy got a stash. Like they knew it was fucking Walter Gretzky and Wayne Gretzky.
If you mess with a Gretzky in Canada, it's like Russian rules. You're done. You get in the fucking red dot. Done.
What were some of the
he's getting
the most like the biggest things he stole? Did
jerseys and sticks were the big sellers, and because they sold them online. Now, if you're online, someone selling something, you're not thinking, oh, someone fucking stole this off the Gretzky. So they didn't arrest any of the people who bought the stuff because they didn't really know it was stolen. But they were able to track everything down. And of course, in Canada, I'm sure once they told people they were stolen from the Gretzky's, they had no problem turning it over. But then you feel bad for those people who paid money for stolen stuff. Now they're out fucking a few $100 or a few $1,000.
They take it back from them?
I don't know if they spent the money or what. I don't know if they were able to get all the dough back.
Yeah.
Or what.
Well, isn't Kurt Minahan doing a small town crime podcast?
He's doing like a murder though.
Oh, well, I mean, this would probably go number one in Canada. Who stole and how it all went down.
So either way, man, I'm like I said, I'm surprised they didn't string them up in the fucking town square, breaking into the fucking Gretzky's. Not friend. You don't do that to friends of mine, Bez.
It's like Ocean 12. The guys jumping through the lasers in the basement
in Brantford,
Ontario.
So, Biz, I don't know if you're watching. I'm leaving Florida, coming home tomorrow, but I was walking the beach today. I got a little exercise, and I saw all the stuff lit up, and it was a big sandcastle, like art installation. It was called Sandhenge, and it was like designed almost like Stonehenge. So I was on my Instagram, just legit, as I saw it come in, and all of a sudden I turned, and no shit, no fucking lie whatsoever. There's a fucking warthog sandcastle right there. Of all the creatures, of all the beaches to walk down, a legitimate warthog fucking sandcastle. Because if you listen to the video,
did you take a picture beside it?
Oh yeah, I took a picture of it, not beside it because it was dark and I was by myself. But when I was making the tape, like, oh, look at these sandcastles, and then all of a sudden I just happened to come upon a fucking warthog sandcastle. Of all
it was meant to be. It was meant to be, buddy. It was all meant to be. Come first, full circle on you. That's
you
why
just started snorting at it.
I gave a little snort in the old Instagram. So, all right. What else?
Well, what else do you have written down?
I got Lamar Jackson, 21-year-old, getting arrested in Calgary on video. Tom Cruise is nutty on the Mission Impossible set.
Yeah, he was flipping on those people. Jesus. Is that how like actors act? They just scream at people?
That was the barista at the Starbucks in Boston the first day I got there.
And apparently all he saw was two guys on set like standing close to each other, but they had their masks on.
Yeah.
But they weren't 6 feet apart. Like, I mean, the Christian Science, they'll come at you too. They'll gun down whoever he wants gunned down.
Scientology.
Just for the sake of
Scientology, whatever right. It is. Those people are
you
wackos.
want me defending religion too often, but
oh, great. Now we got another war. He went, that was similar to the Christian Bale, but I think he went a little bit more over the top for something that wasn't as serious. Guys, when you're on these Hollywood sets, it's like high stress anyway.
And he does his own stunts
There's timelines. It's just like and he wears a lot of caps, I'd imagine. So maybe get him a cup of tea.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't know, kind of funny to hear, but he is the star, man. He's the reason these guys are all working. And I guess, I don't know what the exact situation was, but if guys were too close together, man, it's like,
how funny is the guy funny is the guy who grabs his phone and just gets the audio recording going? He's like, yeah,
seriously, I'm going to get so awesome.
This is going viral.
DMZ world star up in his face.
Oh, shit.
Suckers him.
Hey, wait, did you ever end up
somebody's like mashed potatoes?
Oh, is that what they say at the golf course?
Yeah, fuck.
Did you ever end up starting The Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
I've never watched one Star Wars, but I don't know anything. I think Biz has watched it.
I checked out after the first three.
Okay, yeah. If you're not into Star Wars, I could see why not. But yeah, the finale was the other night. It was fantastic, but you guys didn't see it, so we'll move along. We mentioned the sandbagger already. Whit, I'm sure you watched Tiger and Charlie Woods mucking up the course all weekend. Yeah,
they were last 6 holes in a sandbagger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
all of a sudden Charlie Woods is putting me and you in a mind pretzel, and we're just like down on the ground and sitting Indian style.
He's doing keg stands.
So I thought it was awesome to see, and the coolest part about the whole thing was Tiger Woods he's like once in a lifetime. There's no one else like him. I would argue Tiger Woods is better at golf than anyone's ever been at any other sport. Like I think he transcended sports. So you never get to see this guy like a normal person. He doesn't live a normal life. Nothing about him is normal until you watch him like play golf with his kid. Now, granted, they're both amazing, and the kid's 11 years old, and he's already a scratch golfer. But to see like Tiger Woods as a father, it's actually so cool because he's never looked as normal to me, at least. And when you see like he's actually so fired up for his son, he made an eagle out there, and the kid was all business. He's just walking on the next tee, but you could see Tiger's just having a blast, like watching your kid do that. So I thought that was awesome. And now people talk about the expectations put on the kid. I think that if you're doing that, you're crazy. I mean, to talk about an 11-year-old playing on the PGA Tour, there's the odds
Would you
of that
say
happening.
He's on the trajectory to do that based on
I don't even
set?
think I won't even say trajectory at that age. I think if you were one of the best golfers in the country or in the world at 13, 14, I'm going to say.
Did he go to the Pee Wee Championships of golf?
No, they did not. He did not. There was a course in Quebec, but he shot 3 over par, so I still run that town. I think, though, at 12, maybe 12, 13, 14, if you're one of the best golfers in the country or the world, you could say you're on the trajectory. 11, man, I'm not saying it yet. Hockey, too. If you showed me an 11-year-old who was the best player in Canada, yeah, the trajectories, like, I don't know, man, 11?
You'd be getting called out on the ring shrink in no time. I think it's awesome though, with at one point where where the personal life side and how shut down he was to the world when he was on that massive come up. It's been a treat to watch him on the backside of it and how he's able to enjoy it. And I think he's feeling a lot less of the pressure, but more of the love from not only golf fans, but sports fans in general. So it's kind of, as somebody who's not very dialed into golf, but I was always a Tiger fan and always watching, it's like from the humanity aspect of it, it's fucking awesome. And then to see him out there with his kid and how silky his kid is, it's like, if he could pass the torch, whew,
well, if anyone could, it's just maybe
guy. if he could get amateur status, then maybe we'd give them the invite to the Sandbagger. We'll think about it. I don't know if Tiger's ready for the stage.
PGA Tour sent out a tweet, 2 minutes of them videos side by side, like the classic, like a kid who looks just like his dad, has the same type mannerisms. So it was awesome. I thought it was fun to watch.
Well, one thing, Biz, if this kid does turn out to be a good golfer, I mean, there's no better person to get wisdom from than his father, because his father can tell him all the mistakes to avoid that Tiger, had himself. So either way, people are going to have eyes on the kid. So he'll have some pressure on him being the son of Tiger Woods, being on TV already. But kid looks like a phenom either way. Lots of hockey news this week, Whit. So we didn't really get to the soccer stuff.
Yes. So it's a long episode right now. So we'll actually talk soccer next week more in depth. And yeah, if you want to complain, shut up. What I say about golf and how's the Sandbagger doing? Now we're going to have a talking soccer segment because Biz is picking a team in the Premier League. I'm Chelsea, guys. The Blues, Chelsea Football Club. I looked at, so everyone's like, you can't pick one of the Power 6 teams. I'm like, dude, I want to make sure the game's on TV. I'm not going to pick now. As cool as it is, Biz may pick a team that's in the middle or at the bottom and trying to get up, trying to stay away from relegation. I'm picking a team that has the chance to win it. And not only am I picking a team that has a chance to win it, they're young, they're hungry. And I've done all the research I can. I've talked to a bunch of people online. Chelsea brought back the best player they've ever had for their team, maybe Frank Lampard. I don't even know if I'm saying the names right.
That's okay.
We
don't do that anyway.
He's a legend for Chelsea. He was a legend for Chelsea. And then he went on and now he's a manager. And they hired him as a manager because they got banned from having transfers for a year.
Cheaters.
So apparently they got caught. I've been told they got caught doing what everyone does. And that's like find a 15-year-old phenom, some part of the world, and you send him to a private school in London. And all of a sudden he's playing for your team. He's playing for your your 15 and under team. And then all of a sudden he makes the senior. Now, who knows what happened, but they couldn't have transfers. So they brought back this guy as a manager. He didn't have much experience, but he's a legend for the team. And they're young, like I said. They got guys who came to that Chelsea organization 8 years old, Biz, and their dream was playing for the senior team. How cool is that? The drama in soccer and growing up playing for the Chelsea organization from the time you were 7 years old, and then getting to the Premier League. And
that's how it works.
They got a Russian owner. They got a Russian owner who they spent a ton of money this year.
Now we can't go to the game.
They got a couple. No, we can. They got a couple German. They got a couple Germans. As this Werner, he's underperformed this year, but they got the best U.S. soccer player. What could be the best U.S. soccer player ever, like Pulisic. So they won today, my first day. I'm talking too much because I want to go really in and have segments about the Premier League. I'm all in, and I'm going. I'm going to a Chelsea game.
I've gotten a few recommendations. Somebody's been saying Leeds is quite the place to watch a game. I've been hearing Crystal Palace, and it sounds like a strip club, so I'm kind of already down. Like I'm already thinking of the Pink Whitney promos with fucking Crystal Palace. So and the rowdy fan base doing, well, we don't need to go into details. So I'm going to pick a team. I watched Sunderland Till I Die, which is a documentary. It's got 2 seasons. I don't know if the fan base is rowdy enough for me, but I really respect how these teams that get relegated and they don't have much money are trying to compete and create this culture where they can compete with the Chelseas and the Man U's and the Man Cities and all these Russian billionaires.
Yeah, Man City was an option, but they're a little older. And the only other time I've ever watched soccer, Orpik watched a lot in Pittsburgh, and I remember watching Chelsea play in the Champions League. They had this player Michael Ballack from Germany. This guy was a stallion, and he was nasty. And I remember being like, all right, I'm into Chelsea. So now I'm getting back in. Now I was never fully in. Now I'm all in. I'm gambling. And so I also looked at Tottenham. They're the most boring soccer team I've ever watched. And their manager's a legend, right? This guy's considered one of the best of all time. He's a Portuguese guy. They're like the Devils. He's like Lamarillo. They just it was, and that's who Gaz roots for. No surprise,
which is odd because I believe Crystal Palace is owned by the New Jersey Devils owner.
Really?
So that's there's another connection.
So you'll pick your team, and next week I'm doing some. Maybe we release it on the side. I'm doing talking soccer.
All right. I'm rooting for Ted Lasso's team. One other reminder: check out the Sandbagger. We got Hazy and
tonight. If you're
Yandel dropping Unreal, and also one other note, Biz. Sorry. We're doing the dozen trivia with Jeff D. Lowe. Me and Biz and Witt are defending our title later tonight. That I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be dropping, but keep an eye out for that. We'll be tweeting out from the Chiclets account. Biz and Witt are going to go defend our trivia title on the dozen with Jeff D. Lowe.
Be there 7:50 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Sandbagger Invitational, Cohasset Golf Club. Myself and Ryan Whitney, and G was there too, helping us out. Versus Keith Yandel and Kevin Hayes. We will see you there. Be there with a glass of Pink Whitney, and let's fucking go, baby. Bring the birdie juice. YouTube channel. Spittin Chiclets YouTube.